Can you believe we're in August? Oh, man, I woke up this morning and I started making my notes, getting ready for the program today, and I thought, oh, okay, let's take a look at the date. And we always put the date up on the Bud Light live stream. And damn, it's August. Where did the summer go? Holy mackerel. Got up this morning at about 4 a.m. 4 a.m., jumped in the vehicle, and made my way west. We are in Eau Claire. We're at Wild Ridge Golf Course here in Eau Claire. Later on today, it is the Tobacco Outlet Plus Grocery, cigar dinner, the golf outing, 9 holes of golf, a little bit of a dinner, some cigars, some stories. We're going to have a good time. But here, overcast skies. It was cloudy. Got a little bit of drizzle coming out early this morning as the rain kind of rolled across the state. I got a few rumbles of thunder last night at the house, but not much driving out here. Pretty much smooth sailing. So got here today, enjoying myself, set up outside on the deck. For those of you watching on the Bud Light live stream, we're here on the patio. Yes, this is the site. Actually, I think it's the same table that I sat at some years ago, and we had the storms and the lightning rolled through and got me. But nevertheless, today I'm not expecting that. The clouds are supposed to part. Skies are supposed to get sunny. It's supposed to go from right now at 69 degrees. It's supposed to get up close to 80 today. So excited to be here. Good to be back into the western portion of the state of Wisconsin. I already saw a few people that knew we were coming and came by earlier this morning just to say hello and drop off some morning breakfast fare, which is always nice. So thanks to everybody that came by. And our friends, somebody brought me some Norski Nook pie, which I love apple pie from Norski Nook. Oh my God, it is so good. But nevertheless, we are here. We're at Wild Ridge. You talk about a lot to get to today. Holy mackerel. Today is a day. You get one of those days where you think, say mid-July, you're thinking to yourself, there's not much going on. You're at the baseball all-star break. Nothing's happening. Everything's quiet. And you're like, man, I could use anything today. Just give me something to talk about. And then you get a day like today where you're like, wow, there's so much going on. The unfortunate passing and sad passing of Bill Russell. 11 times in 13 attempts, he won a championship. And a longtime NBA great, an ambassador for the game, an ambassador for, rights, so much. A likable guy. I had a chance to see him once. Never really met him, but see him once. And he was, from all accounts, a very pleasurable, nice guy. But he ended up passing away. We got Packers training camp reports coming up. Brewers take 2 out of 3 over the weekend. A lot of trade rumors as we close in on the trade deadline. And then news breaks. Ben, you and I, what was the over and under for you and I when we talked about how many games Deshaun Watson would get? What did we decide? Do you remember?
Oh, it was around 10 or 12.
I thought you said, what, 8 or 10?
Oh, I guessed the whole season originally.
Okay, because I said from the sound of it, and at the beginning, I said, it doesn't sound like he's going to get many games. And then the lawsuits piled up, and then the Texans were named, and then everybody was talking about a year, and I went, because originally I think I said 4 games, didn't I? 4 or 6? And I said it has to be at least 6 because of Ben Roethlisberger. So just going by the creeper factor alone, you got to give him 8 to 10. And then you said a whole season. And I swayed to that side. I really thought that's what it was going to be. And then word breaks today that now it's not official, but the NFL and the NFLPA, they put this before an arbitrator. And it was Sue Robinson. She ruled that he did break the code of conduct policy in the collective bargaining agreement, and he did violate that. There's not enough evidence to justify an indefinite suspension, but she recommends 6 games. I was driving up this morning when word broke, and I was listening, and I was kind of shocked. 6 games. And they said, well, we really don't have precedent for this. And I'm thinking, you do. You suspended Ben Roethlisberger for one incident for 6 games. You do. And in the meantime, you've got Deshaun Watson, who still denies any wrongdoing and has shown no contrition other than to say, I wish this never happened. Not saying I wouldn't do it over again, but I wish this wouldn't have happened. Almost saying that, the women put themselves out there and then they named me, but I didn't do anything wrong. I wish this never happened. This was stupid. It was never the admission of any wrongdoing. So I'm kind of like, wow, just 6 games. Now, here's the thing you have to deal with, and you really got to come to grips with, depending on what side of the fence you fall on this. On one hand, the court of public opinion is going to be, I would assume the majority will be somewhat outraged that there's enough smoke to assume there's fire. And the fact that this was something that was known, the Texans were implicated in this, and that something of at the very least, inappropriate nature happened. On the other hand, both the NFL and the NFLPA agreed to an arbiter. It's very difficult then to turn around and go, no, I don't agree with that, and then go back and hand down your own punishment, because the NFLPA has already stated, look, if this is the agreement, we're not going to fight this. Deshaun Watson's camp says he didn't do anything wrong. They're disappointed by it, but they're not going to fight it. Now you wait and see what the NFL is going to do, because the NFL has something else to worry about. The NFL has one, it's the mere appearance of impropriety, going soft on someone who seemingly preys on women. That's one. Secondly, the argument was made, and very smartly so, by Deshaun Watson's legal team in this arbitration hearing by saying, look, you've got Daniel Snyder, who has been implicated and for a long time refused to appear on Capitol Hill, women coming out of the woodwork, and you're not suspending that owner. You got Jerry Jones, who's had his own incidents and has walked away with basically not a PR scratch. You've got Robert Kraft being caught on camera in a massage parlor and making that all go away via money. Nothing happened. So you can't say, and by the way, and I didn't know this, but owners are subject to the collective bargaining agreement rules as well. I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was part of Roger Goodell's discretion to punish owners. So how can you then turn around and suspend for an entire year Deshaun Watson when you don't even reprimand owners for what it is they do? How can you do that? So that's the argument that Deshaun Watson's people smartly made. Did he break the code of conduct? Yes. But are you going to suspend him for a year? No. You know why? Because they, pointing the finger over at the owners, don't police themselves. Why should you come down on a player, on an athlete, on a guy making millions, when the owners who are making hundreds of millions are the ones that are committing just the same egregious offenses, but nothing's being done? And Roger Goodell's now got to deal with that. Roger Goodell is in, because he works for the owners. He's really between a rock and a hard place. It's almost like the owners have to get together and now police themselves and say, hey, they're for the grace of God, man. And we now have to start coming down on you guys. We have to come down on each other. We can't, because this whole thing about protect the shield, it's protect the shield via the players, not the owners, because the owners have run roughshod. We've got Stephen Ross, allegedly throwing games. We've got Haslam allegedly throwing games. We've got Daniel Snyder getting video of his cheerleaders at a photo shoot and going upstairs and doing obscenities to himself while he watches the video. You got Jerry Jones paying off a girl $3, $4, $5 million for what? Nobody knows. She's supposedly his daughter, maybe not, maybe out of wedlock, maybe in wedlock, maybe, but nobody knows. And then there's all kinds of other things that have gone on with Jerry in the past, but nobody knows because it all just kind of goes away. So Deshaun Watson, the breaking news today, he gets 6 games. 6 games. There you go. That's where we stand today. What off to an incredible start. And really, in case you missed it, and Ben, I'm sure you probably did, but did you see what is kind of the biggest story of the weekend that people aren't talking about?
What, the fact it took me 14 hours to take a 4-hour flight back to Madison?
That's part of it. That is the detriment of the airline system. Now, on the other hand, I did see Ebo cutting a rug with his wife and sporting bikinis and all that kind of stuff poolside because he was out doing all that. I didn't see any of your video. However, the other big story of the weekend was Ric Flair at the age of 73, bloodied face. He no longer has the Nature Boy big poofy white hair. He's got a semblance of what used to be a very proud civilization of white hair. But for the most part, they've all vanquished their homesteads. But what white hair was left was covered in blood as Ric Flair wins the Nature Boy wins his final match ever at the age of 73. There you go.
When was that? Saturday?
Yeah, it was Saturday night. So there you go. That wraps up.
I was drunk in the woods. I missed it.
In the woods? What the hell are you in the woods for?
My cousin got married. It was a little remote.
Okay, I was
out in the mountains of Colorado.
Oh, okay, the mountains. Okay, when you say in the woods, I thought you guys got drunk and you said my cousin, got married. I'm thinking, what the hell did your cousin marry? Sasquatch or what? Did she shave those roots before she said I do, or had to think about that for a minute. How was the wedding, by the way?
The wedding was great. Saturday was amazing. We were out. It's like a 4-mile drive from Denver up into the mountains. It's where she used to live and met her now husband. The travel was nearly impossible on both Friday and Sunday. But Saturday was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
So how long did it take you to get out there?
I left. My flight Friday morning was at 5:45 a.m. I arrived to the destination at around 4 p.m. Jeez. And that's with an hour time change.
Holy
so
crap.
Probably 11, 12 hours. Coming back then with delays, it was longer.
Well, if what you said was a 4-hour flight, why did it take you so long?
I'm cursed, honestly. The way it's really one of my uncles screwed me. And there's no way he would ever be listening to this program so I can air this grievance. But I was supposed to take a car with him up to the town we were going to. But then he left me behind. So I had to wait multiple hours to find another way up there.
Gotcha. Okay, so the uncle was a turd, but the wedding itself was good. The cousin was good, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was great. I wish I could say I was had a day off on Friday. I'm refreshed, but I don't know. Not a lot of sleep. My brain is easily mush.
Okay. Well, we had an eventful Friday. Rowdy did pretty well. We had great discussions. Had Zach with us, which was cool. We had a really good discussion.
Sorry to hear that.
And yeah, you know what? Zach, it was a good discussion. We had a lot of fun. But we had when we had Clemens on, we had technical issues. It wasn't really, our own issues. It was more technical than it was anything. And some buffering that was going on, some computer stuff. So that's all it was. Other than that, it was great. We had a good time. We were thinking about you, but it is what it is.
Probably not in the best way.
No, we were just wondering, once you take off, I'm not quite sure because you kind of keep close to the vest some of your travel schedules until you get back and then the experiences begin to come out. It's not like you go, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to go catch a flight tomorrow morning, 5:40 a.m., and then kind of give me the itinerary because I do that. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going to be. This is what's going on. You play kind of close to the vest until later we find out, hey, I was in the woods. My cousin married Sasquatch. Took us 12, 14 hours to get home on a 4-hour flight. My uncle left me. That son of a buck. And yeah, it really wasn't a great experience. And then we get the aftermath. That's when the aftermath begins to flow. So mine kind of happens during. That's all. That's the only difference. Good stuff. Brewers took 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Now, who do you think the Brewers get? Because now things really start to heat up. We want to talk a little bit about that as well.
Did the Joey Gallo stuff come out on Friday, or was that this weekend?
That was this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, that was this weekend.
We'll get to that. Oof.
Yeah. There's a list of players potentially available in trades that could fit the Brewers. And as a matter of fact, Adam McCalvey put it out this morning, and I was reading a little bit of this as well. But I want to go through this. When we come back, we'll go through this a little bit. We're going to hear today from up in Green Bay. Packers putting the pads on today. That's another milestone when you start talking about benchmarks throughout the season. Once you get into camp, that's great. Everybody gets their installments, and then after that, you get pad day. Guys get to beat up on each other a little bit. You start that process. So we have all of that. Matt LaFleur, we're going to hear from him coming up at the bottom of the hour as he addressed the media today. So we're going to hear from him as well. We got our Mike Clemens. Did you see Mike Clemens hanging out with Mooch? Steve Mariucci?
No.
Yeah, Steve Mariucci
No.
and our girl Stacey Dales. They were just a Packers. We got to get Stacey on the air with us. They were just a Packers camp. And there's all of a sudden there's Clemens. Clemens sends me a picture and says, "Hey, I got a couple of friends that say hi. It's my boy Mooch and Stacey Dales." It's fantastic. Clemens just walks in, just invades the set. Hey, hi guys, wait. When Mooch is doing stuff at Super Bowl, Mooch always remembers his roots being in Green Bay. So we always get a chance to say hi to him and talk to him. Mike's got to know him a little bit better than I have, but Mike just walks in, Mooch, and just it just finds his way in. It's fantastic. Good stuff. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. There's some options for the Milwaukee Brewers. Take 2 out of 3 over the Boston Red Sox. They've only lost 2 games since starting the unofficial second half of the season. The bats have been relatively hot. So we'll get into that discussion. Matt LaFleur coming up at the bottom of the hour. Talk a little betting, little odds makers just before the top of the hour. We got a full show. We are broadcasting live Wild Ridge Golf Course here in Eau Claire. Where later on today, and finally the clouds are starting to break a little bit, but later on today we've got the golf outing / cigar dinner coming up tonight. Compliments of our friends from Tobacco Outlet Plus Grocery. And I don't know if you can see that way off into the distance if you're watching on the Bud Light live stream. There's a guy that just teed off, and he did something I think we've all done at one point or another. He dribbled it maybe 30 yards, but smacked it right into the weeds right there in front of him, and it was a craptastic shot. And maybe we'll give him a couple of sneers once he comes up to the green and actually tries to putt out and then says he only hit a 4, par the hole. I think not. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. I'm in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. We are glad you're with us. Thanks so much. Broadcasting live here at Wild Ridge Golf Course. We're here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And a good time today. To Art, who asked if we brought the big unit cruiser. No, I did not. And here's the reason why. I would have loved to. First of all, I wasn't going to do it just for the fact that it's got some ton of gas and it's only in and out because we're not staying overnight or anything. But secondly, because it is loaded for Sturgis, and spent the whole weekend mainly. Did a little motorcycle riding and such, but and then had a party, a pool party a friend of ours had on Saturday. But it is pretty much loaded and ready to go and packed up for Sturgis. We leave for Sturgis on Friday, and gonna be heading out there. But got it because I'm here today. I'm back tomorrow. I'm getting some treatment on Wednesday. So I'll be off, and then Thursday and Friday we're at the Wisconsin State Fair, and then Friday afternoon we're gone. So didn't have a whole lot of time to get it done. So no, to answer your question, I did not bring it. But it is brought to you by our friends over there at Kunis RV. Kunis RV, Wisconsin's fastest growing RV dealer all throughout the great state of Wisconsin. If you're looking for a motorhome, fifth wheel, camper van, travel trailer, whatever it is, Kunis, they got you covered, whether it's Jayco, Alliance, Coachman, Dutchman, Forest River, Nexus, which is what we have. There's Thor, which is fantastic. Heartland, Crossroads, Keystone, Winnebago, Redwood. There's so much more that they carry. Stop in any one of their many dealerships all throughout the great state of Wisconsin as they continue to grow, and just see for yourself the Kunis experience. Kunis, Kunes, KunisRV.com. That is KunisRV.com. So there you have it. So the coming up here in a bit, we're going to hear from Matt LaFleur. So we'll get into that coming up here after the bottom of the next hour. But Adam McCalvey said that the MLB Network's experts compiled kind of a list of players potentially available in trades, and they think there's about 14 of these guys that could fit the Brewers, as the Brewers go for a second straight National League Central title and a fifth consecutive postseason appearance. So if you look at the bats, there's CJ Cron. He's under club control through 2023. There's Josh Bell, first baseman as well. Ramon Laureano, the outfielder. Ian Happ. And then from the Reds organization, Brandon Drury, who we talked a little bit about this weekend. There's the outfielder, Brian Reynolds, the outfielder, Michael Taylor, and the first baseman, Garrett Cooper. Now, the Brewers came into yesterday ranked 21st in F-WAR in center field, while they have been a lot more potent since the All-Star break, essentially in the middle of the pack in most of the offensive categories. So you can see the need for bats. Now, the Pirates, they're in no rush to get rid of Reynolds, considering his long-term contractual control. But Laureano, he's a fallback, and recent reports suggest that the Brewers have indeed talked to the A's possibly about him. Taylor, Michael A., not the Brewers' Tyrone, a center fielder who would statistically represent an upgrade for the Brewers, but would either really boost the offense. The center fielders' stats together with Taylor and Jonathan Davis, if the impact, if it's what you want, A hitter like the Rockies' Cron, the Nationals' Bell, Marlins' Cooper, the D-backs' Christian Walker, they would all be in order as well. Bell's a switch hitter, we all know, who's producing from both sides of the plate. Now you could go out and get some arms. Alex Colomé, Andrew Chaffin, Joe Jimenez, Jose Quintana, Zach Davies, Noah Syndergaard, Steve Okert, Dan Floro. Then McAlvey says there's Jorge Lopez, David Robertson, Michael Fulmer, those that are out there. So, it's, with Boxberger, Devin Williams, Josh Hader, they're set as the high leverage options for the final 3 innings, and Trevor Gott should probably be included in that group. There's Hobie Milner. He's been a dependable left-hander in leverage spots in middle innings. McGee's been pretty solid since signing as a free agent this month, and he's got loads of late inning experience as well. Right-hander Gustav, Brent Suter, they've picked up some low leverage work as well. So there's room to add maybe another reliever. But you just wonder what they're going to do. Should the Brewers trade for an arm? Some of the names are probably familiar with most fans. Or do they have to go after a bat? So where do they pick up? Where do they go? So it's interesting. If you want to read Adam McAlvey's full article over at the Brewers Beat, go to brewers.com. You can read it there. But just some interesting thoughts as the Brewers close in on the trade deadline, like the rest of Major League Baseball does. And Brent says over on the Bud Light live stream, he said the Brewers have played well since the All-Star break. Will they make a trade? I got to think there's a bat involved. I don't think I don't know if the numbers are real right now, what they've done since the unofficial second half of the season began. So I don't know. Ronald says, do you think they move Hader? No, I don't think they do. No, I don't think they do. Sorry. Doesn't happen that way. I think, why would you weaken yourself? If you're kind of going for it, you wouldn't weaken yourself, and getting rid of Hader, I think, would weaken this ball club. So, no, I don't think you do that. Let's do this. We'll break away when we come back. Coming up next, you're going to hear from Matt LaFleur, head coach of your Green Bay Packers, as the Packers put the pads on today up at Lambeau. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
They begin week 2 of training camp, and already head coach Matt LaFleur has lost track of what day it is.
What day is today? That's camp brain for you right there. So Monday we'll be in the shoulder pads, and then Tuesday we'll be in the full pads.
So how will putting on the pads make it feel on the practice field? Outside linebacker Preston Smith.
You get to see who's really physical. Some of these guys gain a lot of confidence being in jerseys. And then, that's when you find out who the real men are when the pads come on.
Are there any adjustments to throwing the ball for quarterbacks on the first day in pads? Jordan Love.
No adjustment. I don't feel like it's too much different when you're throwing with pads on. The motion, everything's the same. It's just, you got a little bit extra weight on your back, so I don't think there'll be any adjustment.
Now, the coaches have had high praise for how Rashawn Gary has looked. I asked the outside linebacker what has him so inspired and ready to get after it.
It's just, going into year 4 and, as a team, we got aspirations of going to the NFC Championship, winning it, and, going to the Super Bowl and winning. I just want to be a big part of that, so I'm just hungry to make sure I'm an impact for this team.
That's Packers outside linebacker Rashawn Gary. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Back to the program. Glad to have you again. We are out here live. We're at Wild Ridge Golf Course. We're in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is where you can find us. It was an eventful weekend. Brewers get 2 out of 3 over the Boston Red Sox, and the Brewers continue to win series. They've only lost 2 since the unofficial start of the second half of the season. Meantime, you got Deshaun Watson getting 6 games. Now, that is not completely official as of yet, but 6-game suspension. Things are changing in the NFL, the NBA, the Major League Baseball. Matt Mitchell with the Action Network. Talk a little betting, brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino, joining us on the hotline. Matt, how you doing today, man?
Well, I didn't win the Mega Millions, but I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, we're all back. I really thought one of us would, and instead we're all back today. We're still poor, and we kind of just move on from there. So I get it. Hey, let me ask you this. Let's start with Major League Baseball right now. Who is the favorite to win the MVP in the National League and the American League?
American League, it is Aaron Judge, and I am – well, it's a two-man race between Ohtani and Judge. That's going to be the big story in baseball generally. National League, it's still anybody's game.
So if you're going to put some money down, who might you want to think about throwing money on at this point, whether it be a long shot or whether it be somebody that you believe is going to solidify themselves in the second half of the season? We just got into the whole MVP discussion this past weekend as to who may or may not be the betting favorite, and that's the reason I ask.
Oh, if I was a smarter bettor, you'd take someone down the board, someone with a huge number. But I find it hard to imagine Judge not getting it at this point on August 1st. He is the best player on the most visible team. He does the things, smash huge home runs that fans and voters like to see. It would take, an injury or a Yankee collapse at this point to reverse that, because we're seeing already Ohtani's team is slipping into obscurity. So I think if you were eager to make a bet that you were likeliest to cash, I would go with Aaron Judge.
If Ohtani gets traded to a contender and continues to kind of put them over the top, does he get then more consideration because he's done it now with 2 different teams? Does he get more or less of a nod?
I find it almost impossible to imagine that the Angels would trade arguably the most exciting young baseball talent of the last 25 years, unless they were getting something earth-shattering. And I don't know who could offer that in return.
Right.
But yes, I think if he was traded, especially within the American League, that would only probably bolster his odds. It might be confusing at first, but if he went from a nobody like the Angels to a contender and push them over the top, I think that would then move him into the lead in the American League MVP market.
A little closer to home, I know the Brewers off today. You got Pittsburgh coming to town. Corbin Burnes goes to the Hill tomorrow. Now, between Corbin Burnes and Brandon Woodruff, Burnes not so much. Woodruff, he has just been the recipient of poor run production, even though he's been a quality pitcher. How do you go about betting on a guy like Woodruff when the quality of run production around his starts has been so poor?
And that's something that the market typically doesn't factor in. And we're seeing the same thing with Sandy Alcantara in Miami, We've seen it in the past with Justin DeGrom. These incredible pitchers that, for one reason or another, a talented team just refuses to give any runs to. Typically, you're going to be priced in an individual game market the same as if they're going to put up an ordinary number of runs. So a savvy gambler would just say it's that kind of art and science thing, right? You'd say, listen, I'd love to bet them, but the team just seems to put their bats away, put them on the ground whenever they hit the mound. So you just either you pass or you bet into it. You just say, today's the day it's going to reverse. But I don't blame gamblers for getting a little skittish, because that's baseball for you. It's a mysterious sport.
The Brewers, if indeed they make a deal, now already many seem to favor them winning the division, 3 games up right now in the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals looking to make a deal, Brewers looking to make a deal. How much will obviously it's going to depend on the player coming in, but how much of a deal before the trade deadline will move the needle when it comes to the likelihood of winning the division if you're going to put some money down on them?
Yeah, August 1st is a fascinating day for baseball bettors, because typically, news drives the betting market, and betting, operators like a DraftKings or a FanDuel, they know that they can get beat on news, and they don't want the liability. So a lot of the futures markets will go down for all of today. They'll get taken off the board because, you never know what kind of news is going to pop. The Brewers remain 20-1 to win the World Series, 8.5-1 to win the National League, and there's still a minus 250 favorite to win the National League Central. It would take a significant arm/bat addition to move those considerably in a single day, but it mostly signaling that they're going for broke would be my expectation. So if they do make 2 sizable moves today, I could see that 20-1 move to 16-1. I could see 8.5 move to 6-1. I think we'll see a measurable impact, because I do expect them to make a move of some kind, because I think the alternative is blowing the team up. So I think they're going to do the best with what they've got right now and make a move.
Okay, going over to football, I got some buddies that are like hardcore. So they bet preseason games. Why, I don't know, but they do. So in preseason games, because of the unpredictability when it comes to who will and will not start, Give me, if you're going to go with better lines, give me some of your thoughts when it comes to preseason NFL football betting.
I will say we have a show, the Action Network podcast. We're releasing a special episode this week about how to approach the NFL preseason specifically, because obviously those games start this week. It is a entirely different betting animal than betting football really in any other form. It's entirely information driven. You have to follow beat reporters. You have to listen to a lot of coach speak, because you have to know what the plan is in terms of who's playing and who's not, especially at the skill positions and the line play. So it's really a ton of effort to try to get a good read on who's even going to be on the field in the second quarter, and whether or not those people are going to be motivated. And we've seen plenty of teams like the Baltimore Ravens. They really over-index in the preseason. We've seen others like the Giants historically. They punt the whole thing. So I would encourage people to not only listen to that episode, but just find sharp people and tail them. If you know people are paying attention to that, let them do the work and then follow their picks.
Give me one more before we get out of here, and that is going to the NFL. Give me some of the prop bets that are coming out, obviously the MVP race, yardage, catches, touchdowns, all that kind of stuff. Give me something you think is a pretty solid bet going in, and give me one of your better long shots.
Let's see. For long shot, I like Tom Brady to win the MVP. That there's a narrative-based storyline to that. Voters like to voters look at that kind of thing. It's a pretty closed arena in terms of who votes for these. And last year I had Tom Brady at 14-1. He was the prohibitive favorite on Thanksgiving. No one could have anticipated that Aaron Rodgers would just refuse to lose football games. So even though he was they fell out of love with him in the media, he was able to win that award. But I would go again. With Tom Brady to win the MVP. The intrigue around him, is he going to retire? Is he going to step away? And then coming back, I think, sets the table nicely. And I wouldn't be shocked to see him take home a trophy. And I believe that would pull him into a tie with Peyton Manning, if I remember correctly.
That'd be fantastic. Good stuff as always. Matt, appreciate it. They can find you over in the Action Network. Go to actionnetwork.com. Always good stuff there. Thanks as always, pal.
Thanks a lot, Bill.
He drops off. Let's get back to it coming up here after the top of the hour. It's also brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Win up to $10,000 in free play Wednesdays in September, but Tuesdays in August, you get 5 times the points. Play with your club card Tuesdays from 6 to almost midnight. Earn 5 times slot points right now. Potawatomi Hotel Casino. They got a gas card giveaway. All kinds of good stuff going over at Potawatomi. Don't forget to stop in. And maybe before or after a Brewers game or anything going on in downtown Milwaukee, if you're coming from any portion of the state of Wisconsin, make it a stay down at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. 1 hour down, 3 yet to go. Broadcasting live at Wild Ridge Golf Course. We're here in Eau Claire. We'll be back. A lot more coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, yesterday at Fenway, the Milwaukee Brewers could not finish off the sweep of the Boston Red Sox, falling 7-2. Brewers starter Aaron Ashby would go 4 2/3 innings of work, giving up 5 hits and 5 runs while striking out 6. And Hunter Renfroe would hit a 2-run homer over the Green Monster for the second straight day, going 4 for 4, but the Brewers would lose just for the second time in 9 games since the All-Star break. The Crew sits 3 games above the Cardinals for first place in the NL Central. They have today off before going to Pittsburgh to take on the Pirates tomorrow. To the Packers, yesterday they had off. They'll put on the shoulder pads today for training camp, and head coach Matt LaFleur talks about the health of his team from now to the end of the season.
Us as coaches want to throw as many reps at them as possible. But I think if you look around the league and just look at the teams that are most successful throughout the course of the season, it's about keeping your team healthy. I mean, that's a big part of it. The teams that are typically standing at the end of this thing are usually some of the healthiest teams.
The Packers will put on full pads on Tuesday, and then Friday is family night.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Have you thought about a career in a skilled trade? These are the types of skills that could secure your future. Jobs that can't be outsourced to someone overseas. Be in demand. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org.
Fall camp for the Wisconsin Badger football team will begin on Wednesday, and they should do so relatively healthy among key players. That includes running backs Ches Malusi and Isaac Garendo. As head coach Paul Cruz says, both backs will be able to take part in a limited basis. Malusi is coming off a torn ACL, while Garendo a foot injury. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Clouds are parting, sky is starting to show some blue, sun's coming out, it's warming up a little bit, and we are broadcasting live outside, if you're watching over on the Bud Light live stream, at Wild Ridge Golf Course. We're here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where later today we've got the Tobacco Outlet Plus Grocery Golf Outing coming up, and we've got our cigar dinner coming up here later on tonight. Be back in Milwaukee tomorrow. The Wisconsin State Fair then broadcasts on Thursday and Friday. And then a week from today, we'll be live out in Sturgis, South Dakota on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And obviously then back for the following week. So got a lot of traveling going on here in the next couple of weeks. So just kind of hang in there. Mike Clemens will be on the ground, as always, up in Green Bay, giving you everything. So we've got all of that. Brewers get a couple of wins over the weekend over the Boston Red Sox, 2 out of 3. Couldn't seal the deal yesterday, but they have only lost 2 since starting out the unofficial second half of the season after the All-Star break. They've been the bats have been on fire. Hunter Renfroe's been on fire. Even Colton Wong has been hitting the ball much, much better. So we'll see what they do, because today and tomorrow, interesting days for the Milwaukee Brewers as far as making a move and maybe either adding a bat or an additional arm to their arsenal for the stretch run heading into the postseason. So we'll see if they can continue to overcome the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals got a win yesterday, so they picked up a game. They sit now 3 games behind the Brewers in the National League Central. In the meantime, the breaking news of the day we'll talk more about coming up, but Deshaun Watson gets only 6 games. 6 games. And we'll talk more about that because reaction to that has been somewhat pouring in since we talked about it in the first hour of the program. I know many of you shocked that he only got 6 games, but as I kind of laid out early on, I think there's a really good reason as to why, and we'll get into that discussion coming up here in just a little bit as well. In the meantime, the Dallas Cowboys named the most valuable team, and we'll talk more about that, but $7.64 million. Jerry Jones said he would never sell the Dallas Cowboys, and if he ever changed his mind, Sportico has it valued at $7.64 billion, making it the most valuable franchise across all sports. By the way, the Green Bay Packers come in. They are in the top 15. I think they're 14 overall. They're 14 overall when it comes to the NFL. $4.19 billion are what the Packers valued at. So not bad for a team that doesn't have a single owner. We'll talk more about that as well. Speaking of the Packers, though, Matt LaFleur, we heard part of this a little bit earlier, but he addressed the media today just before they went outside, and they ended up, putting the pads on today at Packers training camp. Let's finish up Matt LaFleur talking to the media today.
Getting anybody back today?
There's going to be nobody back. Sammy will do some team reps.
That's good.
Matt, so Deshaun Watson's ruling came down today. What are your thoughts after getting that 6 games?
I've got no thoughts on it. I didn't even know until you told me. So I've got nothing to say about that. I don't know much about it, and so I'd rather not talk about it.
And are the number of competitive periods going to be consistent? So you did inside the 10 the other day. You want to have one every game or every day, whether it's 2-minute or inside the red zone or whatever. You try to have those every day during installation.
Yeah, we're always trying to incorporate as many competitive periods as possible. Today we'll have one where we'll have a move the ball period where the offense is trying to get 2 first downs and just more or less trying to limit the number of plays that we, give these guys consecutively, at least at this stage of the game. And then we'll finish with the 2-minute period, which is always competitive. And you guys got to make sure when we get down to that red zone, you clear the sidelines a little bit, please. I saw a camera on the ground the other day. I don't know whose it was, but if you guys could not put those on the ground, that would be great. Not only for your equipment, because I know those are expensive, but more for our players.
Did you go over the film and see whether John Charles intercepted that ball on the 2-minute?
Was that a coach's call to give him another rep?
That was not. We had officials out there. The official ruled it the way he ruled it, and so you got to be ready to play the next play. And it's a great learning lesson for everybody. Is just you're excited, you think you won the game, and for coaches and players, you got to have your next play call ready, and then you got to go out there and play that call. But what'd you guys think? Did you think that was an interception, or did you think you did? Thank God you're not an official. He was definitely out of bounds. There was a slight bobble there, and he didn't get that second. No, there was not a slight bobble. There was a bobble. I'll send you the film if you don't believe me. Didn't you see? We had 4 officials out there. You can see old Larry back, huh?
Can you see though?
Hell yeah, you can.
Did Joe Barry agree with the officiating call on the field?
Yeah, everybody knows the defense. In our team meeting just a second ago, I said, "Hey, we're going to find out." About our integrity right here. And I asked Sherm, I'm like, hey, Sherm, did you catch that? He said, yes. I said, well, we got a bunch of liars in this room.
There you go. That's Matt LaFleur wrapping things up with the media from a little bit earlier today. A couple of interesting things. Nobody knew going to be back at practice today, so it's not like they're going to start getting some of these people that they've been waiting for them to come back and get into action, such as a Christian Watson and company. But then when it came to, speaking of Watson, the Deshaun Watson ruling today, He was asked specifically about, not that I ever expected him to really make any kind of a statement, but he said, look, I didn't know about it until you just now told me so. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that is a terrific way to say absolutely positively nothing and not expound upon it. I mean, what's he going to do? What's he going to say? But for those tuning in today, you had the ruling that was handed down earlier today. Deshaun Watson got only 6 games. The recommendation, now that has not been stamped official yet, but Watson, a 6-game suspension for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. Now, I'm getting a lot of reaction, if you will, over on the Facebook fan page, over on the Bud Light live stream, via email. This was from Chuck, who says 6 games is a travesty, in my opinion, but I don't know all of the facts, so probably there was something there that general public is not made aware of. Nick says Watson gets only 6 games for what was worse than what Trevor Bauer did, and he got banned from Major League Baseball basically for 2 seasons. This one's from Zach, who says over in the email, he said, this is a travesty that Deshaun Watson gets only 6 games. So many people came forward to accuse him of basically the same thing. What are people looking for? Well, it's not a criminal case any longer. I think they just wanted to get it out of the headlines. Is it just this easy? Pay people off and then walk away? At least he's suspended without pay. No, he's not suspended without pay. He's suspended. There is no fine levied this. Now, when you miss games, yes, it's suspension without pay. But there was no additional fines levied against him. I'm sure he's paying in court. But again, I go back to the fact that Deshaun Watson has stated over and over again that he did nothing wrong. He was accused of sexual assault and inappropriate conduct during massage sessions and civil lawsuits filed by 25 women, 32 total. And there were more that actually had said there were other issues along the way. The lawsuits took place between March of 2020 and 2021 while Watson was the member of the Houston Texans. Now, one of the 25 lawsuits was eventually dropped following the judge's ruling back in April of 2021 that the plaintiffs needed to amend their petition to disclose their names. They did not want to be named in this. And in June, Watson settled 20 of the 24 cases. And then Monday, he agreed to settle 3 of the remaining 4 lawsuits, according to the Houston attorney, Tony Busby, who represents those women who are suing Watson. Now, Busby told ESPN that the first woman to sue Watson and the first to go public with her name and story did finally settle her case. And last month, the Texans reached settlements with 30 women who made claims or were prepared to make claims against the organization for their alleged role regarding the allegations regarding Watson. Now, with all of this going on, all of this money being doled out, all of these settlements and payments and such, you would assume where there's smoke, there's fire. I think we could all assume that, right? We could all figure that, there's something there. But in the reality, first of all, the arbitrator in this case, which was Sue Robinson, she didn't base her opinion off of anything else, really, when it came to the length of recommended suspension for Deshaun Watson. And I said this earlier, and I think this is part of the argument that Deshaun Watson's legal team brought up was, look, you've got other issues in the NFL. The NFL has a collective bargaining agreement that not only reaches the players, but all executives, front office staff, and owners. Something I really wasn't quite sure of, to be quite honest with you. So when all of this came down and I had heard this, I thought, okay, this makes a little more sense. But basically stating that, hey, you want to be hard on the personal conduct policy. And you want to throw suspensions out, and you want to talk about a season, and you want to talk about maybe, 17 games plus, and then the possibility to be reinstated. And so, well, you haven't done anything to some of the owners, like a Daniel Snyder, like a Jerry Jones, like a Stephen Ross, like a Jimmy Haslam. None of those owners who have been accused of everything from, a sexually hostile work environment to actually wanting to throw games, you haven't done a thing to. So why are you going to all of a sudden turn around and suspend a player for an entire season? Not to mention, and I have not read the entire transcript of all of this. I think it was 15 pages, but basically in there, I'm sure there's something listed that he missed last season. The problem is he still got paid last season. He still got paid from the Houston Texans. And this year, he's still going to get a check for $40+ million and all of that guaranteed money that the Cleveland Browns decided to pay him. So it's when you're not going to clean up your own backyard, you can't turn around and make a player be accountable for what he's done. And that's part of, I believe anyway, that's going to be part of the argument. And I think that today's ruling, as much as you want to be outraged at Deshaun Watson, I think it's a real black eye on the NFL. And I think it's a black eye on Roger Goodell. It's a black eye on ownership who have not taken accountability for problems within their own ranks. We all know that the NFL went after John Gruden basically to get him axed. But in the meantime, they have fought tooth and nail not to have anything else disclosed out of that investigation into the Washington Commanders. As a matter of fact, they were rather uncooperative when the House subcommittee asked them to appear on Capitol Hill. So, you can't be the leader of, quote, protect the shield, as Roger Goodell continually contests. But yet, when it comes to other issues inside the ranks, run away from the accountability. So I know there's many of you who are completely outraged by the Deshaun Watson stuff, but on the other hand, I think this is an indictment of the NFL and the way they've conducted themselves as ownership, as much as the player or players have in the past. And I know you can equate it to Ben Roethlisberger and Plaxico Burress and all these different guys that have had transgressions, whether it's with sexual encounters or guns or things that they've done away from the field. I get that. But you also have an ownership group that's not taking accountability for their own actions, and they're not governing one another. So I think that's the reason Sue Robinson looked at this and said, you know what, we'll go 6 games, and that's about the extent of it because you won't police yourselves. So why should we worry about policing the players? And that's the shame of it. Let's do this. We're going to step away. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get some calls back into this if you got thoughts on it. 877-867-1670, 867-1670. You can hit us up. Also, don't forget, coming up in about a half an hour, Mike Clemens is going to join us live in Green Bay as the Packers back on the practice field today. So we'll hear from Mike coming up in about a half an hour. But for right now, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 877-867-1670. Hit us up if you'd like to do so. We'd love to hear from you. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Kane & Kane Jewelers. They're in West Bend. They are the home of the Hearts on Fire Diamond. Andy Kane and his staff, they're great people. And he's got a whole podcast. It's called Buy Like a Guy. And it's not necessarily jewelry dedicated for men, but it's basically how to buy, when to buy, who to buy for, and when you are going to make that big announcement that, hey, by the way, I want to get married, how to buy. So it's pretty cool. If you look on Instagram for Buy Like a Guy, you can follow his stuff there as well. But in West Bend, Wisconsin, it is Kane, Koehn, Kane & Kane Jewelers. Highly, highly recommend you take a look. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up live out here at Wild Ridge Golf Course in Eau Claire. We'll be back right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
I give that a 2.99.
Okay. Hey, Dad.
What's wrong?
That woman over there. Don't look.
What did she do?
She judged my dive. Gave it a 2.99. Isn't that weird?
Hey, that's Gina Della from Pella. I'm going to find out what this is all about. Excuse me. Why are you judging my daughter's diving? I know who you are.
I'm sorry? Judging?
Yeah, she said you yelled out.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about her. I was finalizing this month's special at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. That's funny.
What's special?
Pay only 2.99% interest for 10 years.
On new Pella windows. Really? 10 years?
Yep.
But it's the middle of summer. You can't get a deal on installing new windows during the warmest season.
You can at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Oh, 2.99.
Dad?
Oh, not you, sweetheart. The deal at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. 2.99% for 10 years.
Visit PellaWI.com.
Proof credit.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. We are glad you're with us. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Stoley's Hog Alley out there in Summit in Oconomowoc. Stopped out and saw Jeff, what was it, Friday night, I think? Friday or Saturday. I can't remember off the top of my head. But stopped in just to kind of check up on the progress as they continue their renovation there at Stoley's. And it's going on well. They just had some soil tests they needed to get past over the last couple of weeks, but they got it all done, and now they're going to continue on with the renovation. So Stoley's Hog Alley out in Oconomowoc in Summit, still open, still cranking it out, still doing well, but don't forget about Stoles Old 109 up in Watertown. Really good people, him and Jeff and Alicia. They do a lot of great work, do a lot of community stuff. I know they had some rides that went through there this past weekend as well. Stop into either place. Great service, even better food, good people. That's what it's all about. Stoley's Hog Alley and Stoles Old 109 there in Watertown. 877-867-1670. Let's get to the phone calls and just kind of get some of your reactions. Let's go to Ross listening to us in Wausau. Ross, welcome to the program, man. What's going on?
Hey, not much. I just had a comment about the Deshaun Watson thing and then about the Packers too. That Watson contract, it's really interesting. They structured it so the first year he only makes $1 million. So out of those 6 games, you know, the only money they can take from him is that base salary of $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like they knew this was coming and they planned for it.
Yep.
So he's only going to lose, you know, I don't know, like $300,000. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's not losing much. A lot of that guaranteed money is still paid to him. And then I was listening this morning that he will still get a check for over $45 million this year. He's not going to lose much, if anything.
None of that. Right. And then my comment about the Packers was, I don't know if you saw, but yesterday the San Francisco 49ers signed their disgruntled wide receiver Deebo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was saying he wasn't going to sign. He was going to hold out. And then eventually I called in before and compared this to Devontae Adams. I said if they would have waited him out, I think the exact same thing would have happened. Does like San Francisco being able to re-sign their wide receiver make you feel any different about how the Packers dealt with Adams?
That's a great question because they could have kept Adams. What the Packers did, it's a little different because Deebo Samuel is going to be with the same quarterback now for a very long time, whether it's Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, whoever they decide on. Where Davante Adams, this goes back to Aaron Rodgers saying that the organization doesn't care about people. And Davante Adams wanted to go play with somebody else because he knew Rodgers was coming up towards the end of his career. And he said, look, I like him, and when the minute he said, but, I knew Jordan Love wasn't the guy. I've been saying it all along, but what he said was, I don't know if Aaron's going to be here after this year or next year, and he wants to go to the Hall of Fame. He wants his numbers and he wants a legitimate shot at winning a Super Bowl eventually. And I just think he just wanted out. So this was the organization. Could they have done what the 49ers did? Absolutely. But would he have been happy? Would it have been a good look for the organization? Probably not, and specifically not in the eyes of Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if, I understand what you're saying with that, but if Rodgers is only going to be here for 2 more years, don't you want to give him the best shot at winning a Super Bowl? Because you would think, if Love isn't the guy, and from his showings last year, he doesn't look like the guy, things might get bleak after Rodgers retires. So why not franchise him, make him stay here, make another run at it. I think they would have been a better spot because, like I said, if, like it or not, you're looking out for the best interests of the franchise. You want to win a Super Bowl. And I think they would have been better off having Adams other than the 2 picks.
I agree.
That's my opinion.
I completely agree with you and appreciate the phone call. I agree. If you would still have on this team, rather than Christian Watson, if you still had on this team Davante Adams, I think with the defense that you have, the depth that you would then have, because you would have either gotten Watson or you would have got Romeo Doubs and eventually another wide receiver down the road, plus your defense and what you've bolstered and upgraded, I think this team would still be incredibly formidable. I think it would even be better. But I think because Davante was so, you know what? Deebo Samuel said it all along that he was not going to come back and he wanted to sign elsewhere and he demanded a trade. And then eventually the deal worth a maximum of $73.5 million over the next 3 years. And it includes $58.1 million in guarantees. Eventually he just said, okay, money wins out. But Davante Adams wasn't signing long-term. He wasn't going to sign the franchise tag. He didn't want any of that. Whether or not he would have ended up holding out for an entire season, I don't know. I just don't know if you want a guy that's that mad at you and where it's seemingly anyway, the relationship had broken down that detrimentally over the last year or two. I don't know if you want him in your locker room. As talented as he is, I just don't know if you wanted him. And he just, that's a great question. Could they have done that? Absolutely. But I don't know that I would have. But what Deebo Samuel ended up getting out of it, struck the deal, the Niners and Samuel, they brought what's considered to be kind of a peaceful end to a very turbulent negotiation that saw him request that trade going back to, what was it, April, I think, when he finally said, I'm not coming back and I want to be traded. And San Francisco, but they held firm. Look, they said, hey, we are going to work through this no matter what. And mission accomplished. They did. In the meantime, the Packers, they traded away their guy, but I don't know if things would have been as harmonious. And I certainly don't think that Davante Adams would right now be in a Packers uniform. Just my thoughts. Over on the Bud Light live stream, Ted chimes in, says the punishment sends a message that it's okay to break the law. Bad message for the NFL to send. Love the show. Ted, appreciate it, man. Pack fan says there was no fracture in the relationship with Adams and the Packers. He just wanted to play with Carr in Vegas. He wanted to, but the Packers offered him the same amount, if not more money to stay, and he said no. There was the rumors that he was not happy because he was not being dealt with early on. Now, that was never made public on either end, but that was what the prevailing rumor was, that the Packers had to wait. They had to do specific things for Aaron Rodgers first, take care of certain things first, and then deal with Davante Adams. And he just at that point in time had shut down and just wanted out. He wanted to go play with Derek Carr. Had Aaron Rodgers been 10 years from retiring, I think it's a different story. Chuck says the disciplinary procedure in the NFL needs to be changed. Goodell needs to be taken out of that process. He should not be involved. The funny thing about this is, and Chuck, there's kind of a catch-22 here now, because suppose Roger Goodell decides to say, no, 6 games, that's not enough. It's a bad look for the NFL. It's a bad look for us as owners. We got to protect the shield. And, there's going to be the court of public opinion is going to hammer us. And for a little bit, rightfully so. So the Players Association gave up the arbitration right when it came to going back to an appeal. So if Roger Goodell decides, no, we're going to go 8 games, 10 games, 12 games, whatever, or an entire season, then the NFLPA will then appeal that. They will send their legal team to Washington. They'll try to get a restraining order, basically. They'll try to find a high court to say, no. We're going to get an injunction against the NFL before this can happen. That would be my assumption. That would be the first thing they would do. They would seek legal action. But remember, they gave up in the collective bargaining agreement for more money the ability for an appeal to be heard by someone else. Roger Goodell did not relinquish that right. Therefore, Roger Goodell is the one that actually hears the appeal. So he will lay down the law and then turn around and be the arbiter that hears the appeal. So in other words, hey, this is what I believe, change my mind. And if you can change his mind legitimately or through the court of public opinion, then Roger Goodell, what he says stands. And that's the way it is. Because, again, the players took the money and gave up that argument in their collective bargaining agreement with the NFL. And that portion of it at the time I thought was fascinating. Remember DeMaurice Smith, he was going to bust the cojones of the commissioner. He was going to put him in his place. He was going to take away the power. He was going to take away the appeal rights, all of that stuff. And all he did was the minute they dangled some money in front of him, he jumped at it. And that was it. So the players kind of gave up that right. And now in the Deshaun Watson case, should the NFL and should the commissioner say, nah, that's not enough, we're going to go a lot longer than that, their only other ability to have this heard is to then try to find a federal judge to actually hear the case that would be on their side, to then put it in front of a court of law and see if the NFL then oversteps their bounds after the agreement to allow Sue Robinson to hear this case. So the whole thing's fascinating, and I don't even know if it's all done yet. Tom Pelissero saying Judge Sue Robinson expected to release her full 16-page decision explaining Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension. So we're waiting for that to come out as well. Broadcasting live out here, Wild Ridge Golf Course. We're in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Brought to you by our friends at Quick Rewards card. I stopped there this morning on the way out, gassed up, got one of the breakfast sandwiches, love that place, and used the Quick Rewards card. Just typed it in, good to go. And they're used right now. I noticed that some of the pumps have changed over. Now they're more prevalent when it comes to using E85 to give you a little bit of a relief at the pump, if indeed your vehicle can take it. So E85 more prevalent now over at Quick Trip as well. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find their full wine and cider lineup in their tasting room or in liquor and grocery stores throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away for wine and cider tastings, great live music, and private events all year long. Remember, any time is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people. Catch all the racing action at Road America. Camping and corporate events available as well. Go to roadamerica.com for all the information. Road America, America's national park of speed.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes.
Many of them.
Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Want to remind you, coming up on Sunday, September 4th, we have our motorcycle ride benefiting Fisher House, Wisconsin. We are now about a month away, so now the push is on to get pre-registration and to spread the word and to get many of you aware that the ride takes place always the Sunday of Labor Day weekend. It's our 15th annual. A lot of good prize packages that have been put together for those who win are involved in pre-registration. And then obviously the prize package. I was just yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was at Best Buy looking at the TV that we're giving away. It is a 75-inch TV for the winning poker hand in the poker run. 75-inch. Ben, how big is the wall that you have? You don't ride a motorcycle, though, but how big is the wall that you have in the apartment? Wouldn't the 75-inch look good there?
I think it would. I don't ride a motorcycle, though, despite what the public may think.
I know. I thought you rode one all the way out to Colorado. Probably would have got there quicker. To be honest with you, had it as opposed to your flight issues. That's for damn sure. But I was out at Best Buy yesterday looking at it, and a 75-inch flat panel TV, man, beautiful. So that's for the first prize, and then we're giving away beer for a year, which is probably more up your alley, Ben, to be quite honest with you. So beer for a year, and then a whole lot of good stuff. We've got Hairbangers Ball, which is going to play the after party along with Rebel Grace. So you get a little bit of the hard rock, you get a little bit of the country, and some of the pop covers as well. So we got a great party at Wisconsin Harley-Davidson. Can't do it without our friends at Growth Law. Go to growthlaw.com, protecting bikers' rights here in the state of Wisconsin, one of the top 20 law firms in the country. Then our friends, like I had mentioned, at Wisconsin Harley-Davidson, go to wishd.com. That is wishd.com. Our friends at Bud Light have been with us for 15 years. Every year we've done this, and every year they've been there, and every year they've said whatever you need, we'll do. And they're great with printing up all the posters and the flyers and everything, and also putting some money for the advertising behind it, along with MKE Brewing, which is where we begin the day of registration. 8 a.m. we start registering, 11 a.m. kickstands up, and then off we go. And the ride concludes at approximately 5 o'clock at Wisconsin Harley, and we have a great party afterwards. Also, thanks to Potawatomi Hotel Casino for providing us the dealers that are going to be there dealing out the poker hands. Thanks for Great Lakes Dragaway, who is a part of this now. And they had a big weekend this past weekend down at Great Lakes, down in Union Grove. So if you're looking to still go run your motorcycle, go run your dragster, go run your vehicle, whatever it happens to be, you can do that down at Great Lakes Dragaway. Go to greatlakesdragaway.com. And then don't forget about our friends that came on board out in this western portion of the state, and that is our friends at Buzzard Billy's over in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So thanks to them for being a big part of the program as well. So Buzzard Billy's, some fine food, good margaritas, and I can't wait to get out there into the La Crosse area just to stop in and say hi, shake a few hands, and say thank you so much for being a part of it as well. But the only way to get registered, you can two ways, as a matter of fact. Go to facebook.com/Big Unit Poker Run, facebook.com/Big Unit Poker Run. If you're following us on the Bud Light live stream, you can scan the QR code right now. It'll take you right to the pre-registration, or just simply go to fisherhousewi.org. That is fisherhousewi.org, and you can check it out there as well. fisherhousewi.org. Go to the events page, and you can see it all right there as well. So there you go. Don't forget Mike Clemens coming up here in about 7 minutes. We'll talk with Mike, who's live up in Green Bay. This was from our buddy Steve, who says, hey, happy weekend. First of all, thoughts and prayers to the family of Bill Russell. What a champion, not only in basketball, but in life. He was an ambassador for the equality and gentleman's gentleman. I never had the chance to actually meet him, but his aura could be felt even when he was on TV. Some people forget that he not only had 11 NBA championships, but also 2 NCAA championships with the United States team as well. Also, don't forget, rest in peace, Mr. Russell. Great start by the crew after the All-Star break. I think we're all happy with a 7-2 start, and now they're going to Pittsburgh, who usually they handle pretty well. Maybe the crew can come back with yet another 2 or 3 wins. And maybe Brian Reynolds, who I've been lobbying for the Brewers to acquire for a while. That's our buddy Steve in Richfield, and that would be somewhat of an accomplishment, Steve, if they indeed did that. So good stuff there. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. It has been posted now. Judge Sue Robinson has indeed released her report on the Deshaun Watson findings that led to the 6-game suspension. The conclusion says, and I quote, the NFL may be forward-facing organization, but is not necessarily a forward-looking one. Just as the NFL responded to violent conduct after a public outcry, so it seems the NFL is responding to yet another public outcry about Mr. Watson's conduct. At least in the former situation, the policy was changed and applied proactively. Here, the NFL is attempting to impose a more dramatic shift in its culture without the benefit of fair notice to and consistency of consequence for those in the NFL subject to the policy. looking at the record when compared to the relevant precedent and looking forward to how the disciplinary determination might be used in the future, I find the most appropriate landing place to be as follows. Mr. Watson is hereby suspended for 6 regular season games without pay, although it is the most significant punishment ever imposed on the NFL player for allegations of nonviolent sexual conduct. Mr. Watson's pattern of conduct is more egregious than any before reviewed by the NFL. Recognizing that only discipline mentioned in the CBA is a fine or suspension, I nevertheless believe it is appropriate for Mr. Watson to limit his massage therapy to a club-directed session and club-approved massage therapists for the duration of his career, and so impose this mandate as a condition of his reinstatement. And last but not least, Mr. Watson is to have no adverse involvement with law enforcement and must not commit any additional violations of the personal conduct policy. The first portion of that is kind of chastising the NFL, saying that you're a forward-facing organization, but you're not forward-looking. And basically saying that, look, you make a lot of errors, you do anything and everything you can to protect the shield, but you do things reactionary rather than being progressive and forward thinking and forward looking to take some of the kind of the bull by the horns in some of these particular situations. You always tend to react to it and wait for the public opinion to dictate what it is you want to do. Going back to, and without actually using the example of Ray Rice, she in essence used the example of Ray Rice. You suspended him. The egregious action never changed. From the time you heard about it to the time you saw the video, nothing changed. You went really soft on this guy at first, and then after the court of public opinion came out, because it was so incredibly heinous and egregious, then you reacted to it, and you're doing the same again. You know, you knew about this. This is something that's been talked about. And then you're trying to now find another way to get a second bite of the apple to say, okay, let's go ahead and hammer this guy without us being the bad guys. And she said, no, your precedent is your precedent. This is what it is. It's a non-violent sexual situation. And she basically says he's suspended for 6 games, but she says that's it for searching Craigslists for therapists. And you are not to have any involvement from here on out with any law enforcement in a negative light. So she basically hammers both, hammers the NFL and hammers Watson at the same time. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. We'll come back. Mike Clemens standing by up in Green Bay. Hang in there. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, a training camp update. In Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers have a busy week ahead with practices every day, followed by family night this Friday here at Lambeau Field. Now, over the weekend, the Packers worked on special teams and had rookie wide receiver Romeo Doubs returning punts. He also hauled in touchdown passes from Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Doubs says of the receivers he studied, from Hall of Famer Jerry Rice to somebody like Jordy Nelson, they've all had one thing in common: preparation.
Even the greatest ones, they preparation is so high to where they get at that maximum level, and it becomes a practice for them.
Jordan Love had the play of the day. Under pressure, he rolled to his left, then launched a 55-yard bomb to the right sideline and hit Romeo Doubs in stride during a 2-minute drill.
Yeah, it's one of those plays that you hear them calling the huddle, and you're like, okay, I hope we get this look on defense, the perfect look, and be able to launch that ball back. And that's what happened. We got to the line. I was like, okay, we got a shot for it, and saw Romeo come out, and it just worked out. He finished the play off nicely, but yeah, it was fun.
How has Jordan Love improved at quarterback in year 3? Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
The whole operation, from getting the play call and the command in the huddle, and then being able to go out there and effectively execute with a proper technique. And certainly he's going to get a lot more reps, throughout the course of the preseason. And there's no substitute for live game reps. Aaron does a great job with him in our meeting room in terms of just giving him nuggets all the time. Jordan's been through it now for a couple of years, and I think he hangs on to those things and truly learns from not only his experiences out there, but the other quarterbacks in the room.
That's Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back to the program, the Bill Michaels Show. We are broadcasting live Wild Ridge Golf Course out here in Eau Claire. Good to have you on. Mike Clemens joining us now. He is at Packers training camp. And Mike, so give us the lowdown as to what's going on today. First full day in pads.
First full day in shoulder pads. They put on the full pads tomorrow on Tuesday. It's cloudy. We could get some rain here. It's muggy. The wind's finally picking up, but it started out pretty hot and muggy at about 80 degrees. And, I asked Jordan Love about this on Saturday. I said, okay, first day on pads, do you have to make a little adjustments as a quarterback? And he wouldn't give in. Well, I'll tell you what, they're missing some passes today. It takes you a while to get used to your pads. Like you've got Aaron Rodgers in the first team offense in red zone, and Romeo Doubs is having this great camp. He comes over the middle, incomplete. Then Rodgers drops back, and he kind of play action fakes, and he looks to his right,
and he hits Lazard on sort of a slant, and it might have been good coverage by, let's see, I think it was Adrian Amos who was there, and he drops it. But then Rodgers on third down, he comes back and he zips one down the middle, no coverage on Sammy Watkins in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. So they managed to survive that situation. Jordan Love, they got him rolling out an awful lot on some of these plays. Then they had him drilling, and on the first time after rolling left, rolling right, supposed to throw the ball in the net, missed, and they made him do the drill second time so he could put the ball in the net. So, that kind of stuff going on.
So, Mike, when you talk to Jordan Love, we were talking the other day about quarterbacks coming into the season that have pressure, and I'm more in the sense of starting quarterbacks that have pressure. But it seemed like Jordan Love actually made the list. Is he feeling pressure to produce this season in some way, shape, or form?
To me, he seems a lot more comfortable with his command and on the field. And, and LaFleur even said that after the first 4 or 5 days of practices as well. You can see the maturity there going into year 3. But he's got to start making some things happen out here. Now, he had this great play on Saturday, and it was 11 on 11 in full speed in helmets and shorts. He's under pressure. He rolls to his left, and then he chucks that ball. Beautiful spiral rainbow, 55 yards down to the right side of the field in the sideline. And there's 87, this Romeo Doubs pulling it in and getting it, down to the 8-yard line. Next play, they're at the line of scrimmage, fumble between the quarterback and the center. Mental stuff like that.
Mike, how has Sammy Watkins looked? Because I know we have not seen Christian Watson as of yet, but Sammy Watkins, they're going to rely upon. We don't talk a lot about him, but how's he looked?
He thought he had this hamstring after the 4-hour flight to Green Bay, and he thought he tweaked it after running his physical conditioning. So they just trotted him out there a little bit on Saturday and a little bit today. So he's only going 50-50, but he took a couple of snaps today on 11-11. So they're gradually pulling him in. I don't think they've, put him full out so far, but he's got great hands, smart guy, seems to know where he is. The other thing I'm thinking about though too is today, Bill, they put up first team defense on the line and in the secondary, but they're looking like a 4-string outside linebackers, guys like Tipa Galea, and Darius Hamilton. They need backup outside linebackers behind Rashawn, who's having a great camp, and Preston Smith. But that backup outside linebacker, the 3 and the 4, wide open.
The other thing I wanted to go after, Mike, real quick, and that is, we talk so much offensively, but more so the offensive line. They've been moving guys around a lot. Are they just looking for versatility, or are guys actually looking for a home?
I think right now they're looking for a starting right tackle because it's probably Josh Nijman's job to lose, and he's taking a lot of snaps. But they're still running this kid that I told you about, Zach Tom, out of Wake Forest. If he's not with the 1s, he's with the 2s at left tackle. And so I think they're trying to build him up to at least make him a number 2 left tackle. But whoever wants to be right tackle right now, between Royce Newman and Cole Van Lanen from Wisconsin, the right tackle job wide open.
Mike, great stuff as always. We'll talk again soon, pal, okay?
Thank you, Bill.
There you go. That's our own Mike Clemens live up at Packers training camp, giving us the update as to what's going on. Yeah, they've been moving Zach Tom and Sean Ryan all over the place, trying to figure out this offensive line as they get ready for the preseason. And then you got to figure out where you're going to be once Bakhtiari is able to come back, how quickly before Elton Jenkins is able to come back, what kind of depth you actually have. Yeah, they're moving guys all over right now, trying to find, as he said, specifically more so the right tackle position. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over at New Mail Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state of Wisconsin, well beyond the borders as well. All you got to do is call them 414-455-4451, 414-455-4451. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers were back on the field this morning for practice after getting yesterday off. That included outside linebacker Rashawn Gary. After a really good year last season, Gary's been a menace early in camp, continually find himself in the backfield and around the quarterback. Fellow outside linebacker Preston Smith really excited about where Gary is.
Man, he's been impressive since he's been here, man. Just to see Rashawn's growth from a rookie to now is just very impressive, man. We just seen what he did last year, man, and I called it. I did call it early in the offseason. And he just keep on stacking those years. He keep coming in, working hard, man. He's growing into a leader of his own. He's getting a tremendous confidence. He's going there playing at a high level, and he's being real consistent with it.
Gary has big aspirations for himself and the team.
Going into year 4, and, as a team, we got aspirations of going to the NFC Championship, winning it, and, going to the Super Bowl and winning. I just want to be a big part of that. So I'm just hungry to make sure I'm an impact for this team.
Packers practice all 5 days this week, culminating with family night inside Lambeau Field on Friday. They open the preseason the following week at San Francisco. Turning to the Badgers, they will get camp started on Wednesday. It's exactly a month out from the start of the season against Illinois State.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Brewers are getting the day off after taking 2 of 3 from Boston over the weekend. It has them sitting 3 games up on St. Louis for first place in the NL Central. Over to series tomorrow night in Pittsburgh. Tomorrow afternoon, also the trade deadline with Milwaukee among the teams looking to add. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Blue skies are there. Sun's starting to shine. Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll get back into some Packers football, Deshaun Watson stuff coming up here in just a little bit. We can get through some of the values that are the football teams, as the Cowboys are labeled as the most valuable. Over $7 billion is what the value has been placed on the Cowboys. However, going to baseball, the Brewers are 7-2 since the unofficial start of the second half of the season after the All-Star break. They've been hitting the ball quite a bit better, but there is still thoughts that obviously a bat would be great if you can pick one up. There's a lot of rumors and innuendos going around right now as everybody's trying to find themselves something else to bolster their chances at getting deep into the postseason. In the meantime, so do we? Because rumors are flying around now, Ben, right?
Rumors are everywhere. There have been no large, dominoes to fall yet, but there are some small ones. There was just a reliever traded to the Yankees from the Cubs, but nothing big. No Soto, no Ohtani yet.
So there's trade deadline buzz. We know the big names. We know the Dodgers. We know the Yankees. We know the Mets, Houston Astros, San Diego Padres. Could Shohei Ohtani be traded from the Angels? What do you got?
As I speak, there is actually some breaking non-news, I guess. John Heyman just tweeted 20 seconds ago that the Angels have decided to keep Shohei Ohtani. The Yankees made an offer. Apparently, the Padres made an offer as well.
Right.
Ohtani will stay.
Okay, so the Cubs, they traded their Scott Effross to the Yanks for Hayden Wesneski. So that's a deal that went down, and Ohtani is not. I thought the idea of trading Ohtani, who was short of Mike Trout, their most popular player, certainly somebody that you were going to watch. And if you're going to build a team that's going to try to compete and win eventually, you want him to be a part of it. You're not, because if you get rid of him, then in essence, you should get rid of Mike Trout and just tear it down, get as much as you can, and kind of start over. And I thought all along for people to say that Ohtani was going to be on the trade market, unless you were going to get some kind of a crazy haul for him, I never thought that was going to be a real possibility. So now we're finding out that is no longer a possibility. But the Yankees do make another minor deal. So what else? I mean, do we have anything right now that is indicative of what the Brewers may or may not be doing? Or do you think the Brewers are just kind of waiting to see what happens?
I think they're waiting. There was the hater thing that you mentioned earlier,
right?
That the report from Ken Rosenthal that they would listen, but it seemed to be a very passive listen. Like, if we're blown away by this, then I guess we could pull the trigger. It feels like they're waiting a bit. I definitely think Frankie Montas, that Oakland A's pitcher, seems to be out of their range at this point. John Heyman did tweet 10 minutes ago that teams are being told they have been eliminated from the Frankie Montas Derby. So suggesting a big deal could be close. That just feels like out of the Brewers' range at this point. But no Josh Bell chatter. That's kind of been, lurking under the rug, if you will. The Gallo thing, which I don't like, but that kind of feels like the range they're in with those guys.
Well, we talked about Josh Bell last week, and we specifically got into it a little bit when you were gone on Friday, but it was a hot and heavy, I'm not going to even say a rumor. It was a thought that this would be a good fit because they were waiting. They wanted Bell to be traded so they could figure out what the value would then be for Soto if you're Washington National. So once Bell was traded, then you can say, okay, if he brought this is then setting the stage for what Soto could bring in, and the haul would be then huge. And it just seemed like it that's where it was. It wasn't ever anything. Now, it still may happen. Who knows? But it never sounded like it was anything via the Milwaukee Brewers and they're doing. It seemed like more of the media and MLB.com saying that this would be a good fit because the Brewers have a need, defensively speaking, over at first base, or at least seemingly, because Rowdy Tellez is, while he's good, he's not great. His power numbers are good, but they could certainly use a better bat. That would be a terrific fit, obviously. So you kind of thought that would be a way to go, but it just never seemed like it was going to be something that materialized. Did you read Adam McCalvy's piece? And which I thought was rather interesting, because he basically said, look, with everything that's out there right now, with Cron and Bell and Laureano, Ian Happ, Brandon Drury is an interesting prospect, if indeed the Reds would deal him, because I know Rowdy talked about that this past week. But now you've got Colton Wong playing so well. Drury could be a third baseman. He can play a little first. He can play second. We all know that. He would be an interesting get. Then, as you mentioned, and we talked about earlier, the Brian Reynolds from Pittsburgh, if indeed they go into Pittsburgh and are able to make some kind of a deal. There's Michael Taylor. There's Garrett Cooper. Any one of those guys might be a good fit. But right now, I don't hear these rumors that the Brewers are making the calls on these particular guys. And if they are, they're keeping it extremely close to the vest right now, right?
Yeah, that's my sense as well. The Brian Reynolds thing is a no-go. They reported yesterday the Pirates are not dealing him. I'm all in on Ramon Laureano, the Oakland A's center fielder. We saw the defense bite the Brewers yesterday, and Heyman has been tweeting about Laureano as well. But yeah, I have not seen any Brewers are specifically linked kind of deals, but more, this could be a fit. This could work well.
Now, the Ian Happ and Drury stuff is interesting because it's within a division. And the Reds have pretty much given up. The Reds are a terrible baseball team. They may not even care who they trade to just because they're starting over anyway. And you got to assume that this offseason is going to include Joey Votto going elsewhere also. But do you even see the Cubs making a deal for Ian Happ with the Brewers? I don't.
Doubtful. I think the Reds have a better chance. And Drury is, less of an impact guy than Happ could be. Happ is younger, I believe, and better. Drury's more of a rental. So I could see that happening, but no Cubs.
Yeah, so that's kind of where things are at right now regarding the Brewers. But then again, there's arms. And, Ben, answer me this. Would you be disappointed if the Brewers did not make a deal for a bat, but instead bolster the bullpen?
Ooh, or bolster the starting rotation. You talked about this a little while ago, and Grant Bills and I had discussed it often, but maybe moving Freddie Peralta, if it could work, to the bullpen as a high leverage guy come playoff time. So maybe also bolster the starting rotation. Disappointed. I think I would be, honestly. partly because of the lineup, more so because of the defense. I just don't think right now they can go into the playoffs with what is happening in center and at second base, and then not to mention whatever batting upgrades all that would bring. I would be disappointed, but there are different levels of disappointment, right? Because you have the impact guys like Bell, and then maybe more of a rental, just utility guy.
If you go back a couple of years, Peralta, when he was in the pen, he wasn't great in the pen. He was better. He was okay. Because when they put him in as a starter, he was getting rocked. But then he figured out that change. And he was no longer just fastball Freddie. And then he had breaking stuff that he got comfortable with. And he became a much better starting pitcher than he was a reliever. So I would find it now. Again, maybe you're going to use him on short term because he's been out most of the season. So I could see maybe being an innings eater, just eating up a couple of innings here or there, and then working himself back into a starter's role next season. But I would think it would almost be doing a little bit of a disservice to Freddie Peralta to then put him back into the pen if indeed you go out and find a starter. Now, the starter would be impressive. If you found a starter and that's what you went for and you wanted to just bolster your pen through osmosis by moving Freddie back to it, that I get. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that I get. And suddenly you are better, but I still agree with you. I think that the defense we witnessed over the weekend, the fact that they could use a versatile utility type of player that gives you a better batting average, whether you DH him or whether you put him in to first or second or third or what have you, much like Drury could give you, or an outfielder that can anchor the center field position. I still think that's the direction that this team should go. So, but today, right now, no word of the Brewers doing anything. The Yankees are being extremely active. But that's really about it, right? I mean, everything else is just, my assumption is as we get closer to tomorrow and the deadline that, we could see this flurry of activity, but isn't it going to be interesting if Soto doesn't move, if some of these big names don't move that have been out there for so long? Because don't you figure you have to get something for them, right?
Yeah, it feels like a deadline spur action kind of situation with the deadline tomorrow, where tomorrow we could just see the flurry all come down at the last minute. The other thing to note from the last couple of days is the Cardinals do seem like a legitimate threat to get Soto, which would obviously impact the Brewers very directly if they make that deal. But it's them or the Padres, depending on whether the Nats want more major league guys with higher upside. But I think that might be the biggest thing to monitor. Take away what the Brewers do to get better. If the Cardinals add Soto, I mean, that scares you.
Chris says, why aren't the Brewers in on Soto? Why is this team always looking for the second level guy? Well, Chris, because they can't sign him and they don't have enough equity in the minor league system, I think, to even get him. So for what was turned down originally, or at least rumored to be turned down by the Nationals, the Brewers don't even have that kind of equity. So on one hand, you could say, yeah, you'd like to at least hear the Brewers be involved, but they don't have it. They don't have that ability without emptying starters that are controllable. And you don't want to weaken your team by going after one guy. So that's the reason. I mean, I understand where your frustration's coming from because you'd like to see your team just say, everything else be damned, we're going for it. But that's the reason. So I don't fault the Brewers for not being in the Soto sweepstakes because they just don't have that kind of capital, so to speak, to be able to go after a guy like that. Let's do this real quick. I wanted to get to a couple other things, but Paul says, I would love to see Bell come into the Brewers organization. He's a guy that can hit for average, and he can go back and forth with Rowdy. That would bolster this team. We'll wait and see. Let's go to Mike. Mike, welcome to the program, The Bill Michaels Show, man. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Bill?
Good, man. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I wanted to comment on some of the guys available, like some of the bats available, and just kind of go through them real quick. So Ian Happ, he's having a good year, but I think he's kind of having a career year. When you look at his stats, he's a pretty average outfielder, major league outfielder, so he doesn't really move the needle for me. Brandon Drury, he's mostly a part-time player his whole career. Again, he's having a career year, but statistically, he's been a low average, low on base guy. Christian Walker, low average, low on base guy. Laureano, low average, low on base guy. Joey Gallo, all or nothing, 200 hitter, strikeout or home run. He doesn't move the needle for me. So it really comes down to Josh Bell. And I know we've talked about Josh Bell, but there just aren't a lot of good bats available right now. And even though Josh Bell, if you don't sign him to a 3 to 4 year deal, even though he's going to be a half-year rental, he's still going to cost you because it's simple economics. The supply is very low right now, and the demand is very high. So I think you're probably going to have to give up either a Jackson Cheerio, Sal Frelick, or Joey Reamer type prospect for him, and maybe even another prospect. And if you're David Stearns, Bill, is that something that you're willing to do for a guy like Josh Bell?
What if you go Josh Bell? What about CJ Cron? He was another one that was kind of mentioned. Would you go in that direction?
I don't know his stats. I'm just looking him up real quick.
Because that would also solidify your first base position. I don't think you'd have to give up as much. But I mean, I haven't sat down and really studied, but I mean, that guy's got some power. I think he's got upwards of 15 to 20 home runs on the season.
Looking at his stats, I like him, Bill. Yeah, because he's been a fairly consistent player throughout his career. He wouldn't just be a flash in the pan. Even if he does regress a little bit, he still would be a big asset in that lineup. So yeah, I'd be all for getting a guy like CJ Cron. I just don't know. Does he have any years left on his contract, or would it just be like a pure rental at this point?
That I don't know. I'd have to go back and look because I don't know off the top of my head. I can find out during the break, but that would be another. And again, I don't have his statistics. I know his power numbers were pretty good. I know when they were putting him up on the TV as far the other day, as far as trade possibilities go, I liked his numbers. And it's not a name that you heard a lot about, but what he's doing, and you have to take into account that he does play in Colorado. So with the home run, with the power numbers, they're pretty good. And playing in the National League Central, still good bandbox ballparks to be able to hit in. But you have to take that into consideration a little bit with the power numbers that he has in Colorado.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I just think that it can't just be a lightning in a bottle kind of guy, hoping because those types of guys struggle in the playoffs because they're facing really good pitching, like Clayton Kershaw or Walker Buehler. So I just think that they need to get a difference maker. And looking more at CJ Cron, I do really like him as well. Pretty much almost as much as I like Josh Bell, that I think he would be a good ad. And I just looked, Bill, he is under contract for next season. At like $7 million, which is completely affordable. So I would love that because then you could go for a World Series this year and next year if you were to pick up a guy like CJ Cron.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the phone call. Mike in West Dallas chiming in for a couple of minutes. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break, talk some Brewers baseball when we come back. Also, don't forget, going to hear from Jordan Love, Rashawn Gary, got Preston Smith. Still to hear from Peter Bukowski is going to be joining. Bukowski is going to be joining us coming up in the last hour of the program as well from the Hooked on Packers podcast. So all of that's coming up. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show live out here at Wild Ridge Golf Course in Eau Claire right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Are you a gold breaker? Play your favorite games at Potawatomi Sunday afternoons now through September, and you could win your share of $1 million in prizes. Break the code, win the $10,000 top jackpot, and everyone playing slots also wins a prize. Anyone can win on any machine again and again. Do you have the golden touch? Gold Breaker, only at Potawatomi. Visit paysbig.com/goldbreaker for more. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. It is turning out to be a beautiful day out here at Wild Ridge Golf Course in Eau Claire. And glad you're with us. But if you are, I can't believe it's August. I woke up today and I drove out early this morning and I started kind of putting stuff together for the show today. And I always do the date. And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe it's August. It's stunning. It's only going to be a few months and we're going to be talking about cold weather and it sucks because I love summer. I love heat, humidity. I love it all. And just like last night, we were sitting out back on the patio out by the tiki bar watching TV. And on the outside, I wanted to go out and get warm. I wanted the humidity. But the inside of the house, cool, 71 degrees, perfect, low humidity. That's partially due in part because of my Pella windows and doors from Wisconsin, and I love them. I talk about them all the time. And right now, in this month of August, they have all kinds of great specials, but you can't do anything if you don't call, if you don't pick up your phone, if you don't go to the internet, go to PellaWI.com. That's PellaWI.com. Again, PellaWI.com, and see for yourself, or call them 855-PELLA-WI. They will come out, show you the windows and such, different hardware, different interior, different exterior, things to match your home. It beautifies your home. It adds value to your home. I mean, I can go on and on and on for all the attributes. But the bottom line is they work, and they work fine, and they're secure. And at night when you lay your head on your pillow, you can say, you know what, nobody's getting in here unless they throw bricks and rocks and drive through my windows. It's not happening. So you got security, you got peace of mind, you got value. All of that adds up to Pella, P-E-L-L-A. Go to PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, and tell them we sent you. Good stuff from our friends over there at Pella. So Michael says that Ken Rosenthal just tweeted that the Brewers are dealing Josh Hader. Are we, Ben, is this true?
I was going to wait until the ad read was over, but yes, Jeff Passan also confirms the Milwaukee Brewers have traded closer Josh Hader to the San Diego Padres.
It just doesn't sound right to me. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Jeff Passan saying that the Brewers are indeed trading star reliever Josh Hader to the Padres. The return on Hader to Milwaukee is significant. The left-handed closer Taylor Rogers, lefty pitching prospect Robert Gasser, outfielder Ruiz, and right-hander Danielson Lamet telling ESPN Hader's going to be a free agent after the 2023 season. I'm just opening the phone lines. Josh Hader traded away. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. So go ahead.
Do you think it's right to kind of be angry in a way that Ken Rosenthal, when he was writing about why Hader could be on the move, said his $11 million salary will likely increase to $16 million next season? Like that $5 million, God forbid, and then they have to pay him later. Is it right to be mad that they feel like they have to move a guy?
I'm not happy about this. And I said this all along, that you are, in essence, weakening your team. You've weakened your team. That's my thought. because you get the left-handed closer, Taylor Rogers. Okay, so you figure you're trying to do this. You get a pitching prospect in Robert Gasser, the outfielder in Ruiz, and a right-hander. So you get 3 guys that can contribute now for one guy that you're sending out, who has been, for the most part, since the day he walked through the door, a sure thing. I'm maybe I need to be talked off the ledge on this one.
Gasser is their 7th ranked prospect,
Yeah.
for the record. None of the top guys were
But,
traded.
but my argument is I don't give a damn about prospects. I never have. In Major League Baseball, prospects are – Nick Neugebauer was the top prospect in the Brewers organization. He didn't – and I'm not knocking Nick, but he didn't do anything. I don't care about prospects. You know, unless they're just lighting it up and they've had these brief stints in the show that they've just been on fire and they just didn't have room for them and had to send them back down and just to keep them, you know, sharp. I don't like the deal. I hope I'm wrong. But I don't like the deal. And I've said this all along. What if Hader turns out to be Mariano Rivera and you traded him away because of $5,000 because you didn't want to pay the guy? This to me is just a reminder that you're the Milwaukee Brewers. Doesn't it kind of feel like that?
It does. And you look at the Padres, they still have the prospects to go get Soto, where you see the differences in these organizations and where they're at.
You know, man, I'm a little bit surprised. They got a good closer and a couple other good pieces. And so maybe this will turn out to be a great deal. It just makes me feel bad that the Brewers have to constantly look at the monetary aspect of things and say, well, we can't afford this guy. Because otherwise, why you bring it up?
I just, sitting here right now, cannot fathom how the Brewers did not get any of their top 5 prospects. And I know I agree with your prospect thing, but you look at what the Padres are trying to do and what Hader instantly brings. Like Aroldis Chapman was traded back in 2016 to the Cubs from the Yankees, and the Yankees got the Cubs' top prospect. Like that's the precedent for these deals, for these big time relievers. Yet they got the number 7 one and then a couple aging veterans and one failed prospect. I don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll see if this ends up panning out. The reaction to this, Johnny says this is somewhat surprising. AJ says they got a good closer in return and a couple other good pieces. Apparently, they knew they weren't going to keep Hader after 2023, which is sad. This is from Jason, who said, I think they got a couple of nice pieces, but it still makes me sad. The Brewers just can't afford to keep their own players. Why bring them up in the system? This one's from Sandra, who says, did the Brewers drink up too much of their own beer? This is a stupid deal. Daniel says it's a haul for the Brewers. Their bullpen may have just gotten a little bit deeper, and they got the 7th prospect in a good farm system. And again, I know people get off on prospects. That's fine. I just have never been a big fan of saying prospects, because prospects mean you haven't done anything. And until you do, you're hope. You're nothing more than hope. I mean, I hope he does turn out. So it is what it is. This is from Brett, who says the cheap owner hurts the Brewers fans again. Jake says, I don't follow baseball enough to know trade values, but it seems like the Brewers got completely fleeced. Matt says this is a bad deal. Once again, Milwaukee has to give up a quality player because they can't afford to pay him. Mark Antanasio, please, for the love of God, sell this team to somebody who wants to put money into it. I don't agree with that. Patrick says, I am disappointed to see Hader go, but let's hope what they got in return pans out. This team is making a stretch run. And then this one, Trish says, what does this do to the clubhouse? Seeing a guy who's been popular like Hader now leave because he was simply not going to be paid, doesn't that feel like a kick to the gut? It does. If you're a player in that locker room that's going to make big money, if you're Burns, if you're Woodruff, if you're Peralta, if you're some of these other guys that are sitting there going, you know what, I'm not bad, and I'm hoping to get some kind of a contract, keep the band together, keep all this feeling moving forward. And then you know that, like you had said, for another year, for $5 million, they just don't want to pay you. That's kind of a kick to the gut. Ty says, I'm a little sad and a little bit upset. Randall says, just another bad deal for the Milwaukee Brewers. Just another year where they're going to be close but no cigar.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
That I guess this is set to the public. Are we at the point where we see moves like this and we are taught to trust the Brewers front office because more times than not, they're right?
See, that's a great point, because is for those that say David Stearns got fleeced in all of this, as we had heard before, for people that say that, again, the Brewers can't do anything. David Stearns has proven to be a pretty good general manager. So I think today is a day of emotion, because Josh Hader's been such a staple for this team and a likable figure. Let's be honest. He's been a likable figure. So I think, as much as, and the prospect thing I take out of this, what they did was they got deeper via their pen, and they found what they believed to be another bat and center fielder. You know what I mean? So if you look at it for what they got, it's not a bad deal for the Brewers numerically. And now I haven't sat down and analyzed every portion of this, but it's not a terrible deal for the Brewers.
I don't like it, but maybe I put more stock into the prospects. It's just, I remember the Andrew Miller, Aroldis Chapman deadline from 2016 with the Cubs and the then Indians. And those guys went for some of the top prospects in the system. Like one of them was Gleyber Torres, who's been one of the Yankees' core guys for a while. But I do kind of feel that, I've learned to trust what Stearns does.
And when I said, and I tweeted this out, I said, I got to admit, I'm a little unhappy. I'm not saying I'm unhappy about the deal. I'm just unhappy we're losing Josh Hader. It's just more of a sentimental, emotional thing than it is a logical thing. If you look at it, Josh Hader, 6 years in Milwaukee, 541 strikeouts in 316 career appearances, which means 15.4 Ks per 9 innings is what he's averaging, which is a huge number. 4 All-Star appearances and 125 saves in his time as a Milwaukee Brewer. That's some accomplishment, man. That's some accomplishment. Lucas says, not surprised by this at all. Hader has been rocky at best last month. We got 4 key pieces in return that could be, in fact, part of another trade. But we'll see. Roll crew. Love the show. You got 4 pieces. And again, I've never been one to say. Then again, you know what? David Stearns has made deals and brought guys into the system, and they ended up panning out. So let's hope that this happens yet again. So if you're just tuning us in, Josh Hader has been dealt and traded away. I'm a little shocked by this, but he has been dealt and traded away. He has been traded to the San Diego Padres for 4 other players, 3 of which are Major League. 1 is their 7th rated player in their farm system. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Warm summer nights, cool beverages, and that smell coming from the grill. Steaks, chops, dogs for the kids. There's nothing better than a relaxing cookout. Where does it all start? Heaven? No. Pasture-raised beef from a second-generation Wisconsin family-owned farm. Better yet, how would you like the best beef delivered right to your doorstep? To see all that they have to offer and to place your order, go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That's SCHOLZE FamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show continues on, and the breaking news of the day is Josh Hader has been dealt to the San Diego Padres and for 4 pieces, and reaction pouring in. Some say great deal. The fact that you hated to see Hader go, but they do get 4 pieces, a couple of which can help in the here and the now. Are a good thing for the Milwaukee Brewers. You would have preferred, at least me, I would have preferred that the Brewers were able to deal him in the winter, maybe work out an even better deal. But Hader's been dominant throughout his career, and he's getting right again. He's got 1 run, 3 hits in his last 4 games. He wasn't, just completely disintegrating. This is basically a move that is dictated by money or the ability not to pay him money. So they decided that now is the time, and you try to get as much as you possibly can. In the meantime, you dealt him to a National League team. You would hate like hell to have Josh Hader be the reason that you don't find yourself any longer in the postseason, so to speak. So a lot of reaction pouring in at this point. Adam McCalvey said, here's why the Brewers would trade Josh Hader and why they've always listened on him. A balance between win now versus avoiding another rebuild. Stearns always says he believes best strategy is getting as many bites of the apple as possible. Sometimes that means a tough decision. That is from Adam McCalvey talking about some of the comments when it comes to David Stearns. But reaction pouring in. Now, Eric says, well, where did the fan favorite get them in the past? Well, it depends on if your fan favorite's good or not. So, yeah, becoming a fan favorite, that means it's harder to get rid of a guy. But if a guy was a fan favorite and not playing well and not producing, I don't have a problem with it. But what, in essence, you did right now in the very immediate or the very current time is, from the way you look at it, you weaken the back end of your bullpen. You just got weaker. Now other guys have to step up and prove themselves. Maybe you didn't. Maybe what you got in return does fortify your team moving forward. Maybe that does. I don't know yet. I haven't sat down and started looking at numbers and digesting this thing. But I know reaction is widely mixed. And I think, as I had put it, I just said, look, this is where you as a Brewers fan have to trust in David Stearns and let it kind of play out. Emotionally, Hader was the fan favorite. So that's a hard pill to swallow. But the Brewers got 3 pieces for the now and 1 for the future that can help this team. And you're trying to add additional depth to your team. And we all know why they got rid of Josh Hader, and that's because they can't pay Hader next year. And so they went ahead and made the move. It's disappointing, but it is what it is. As Jeremy says, a small market team cannot tie up that much salary with his large payday that's yet to come. Trade him now while he's healthy. Williams can close with Boxberger as the setup man. But you just had your 7th, 8th, and 9th pretty much set up, and now it becomes somewhat of a work in progress. And that's, Cindy, you're probably more right than you know, because Cindy said it's probably a really good move, but I'm sad. I think that's when I said that's the emotional side of things right now. That's where I think a lot of people are at. Taylor Rogers, pretty solid lefty pitching prospect, and Gasser. Gasser's one of their better lefty pitching prospects, probably more so ready almost to come to the majors at this point. Ruiz, the outfielder, the right-hander, Lamet. So you get 4 pieces for 1. Maybe it bolsters your team. But I think there's the emotional side of things as well. Again, and what's coming in, and Mark, you said it as well over on the Bud Light live stream. He says, look, I don't think they would have been able to pay Hader what he wanted next year. Getting value for him at his highest is good. Taylor Rogers can be the 8th inning guy with Devin in the 8th or 9th as well. I agree. Yeah, I think they're going to have to feel this thing out now. That I agree with. And there still could be another deal to come. There still could be another trade in the works. So who knows? So I'm not saying the door is completely closed. I know David Stearns is eventually going to speak on this, But again, if you're just tuning us in, Josh Hader traded to the San Diego Padres for 4 additional players. They pick up the left-handed closer Taylor Rogers, the lefty pitching prospect Robert Gasser, outfielder Ruiz, right-hander Lamet. So they get 4 pieces for Josh Hader, and they feel that their team is better, stronger, and due in part because Josh Hader is set to go to arbitration yet again and make more money next year, and then obviously become an unrestricted free agent. So they just felt that they weren't going to be able to pay him. And that's probably Rhett, who says the exact same thing. Brewers are in first place, and come October, the relief pitching is valuable as hell. Do the Brewers believe Devin Williams is as good or better than Hader at this point? Seems a little bit confusing to me, all because of the almighty dollar, because this team just financially can't afford to pay that kind of money. And that's where that ugly dollar becomes part of this, because if this is the Yankees, you don't do this, you don't make that move, but it's not. And so you did. And so that's what it is. Gasser was the 71st overall pick in the 2021 draft, 23 years old, currently playing for Fort Wayne of the Midwest League. And he's got 11.46 strikeouts per 9 innings this season and has kept his homers down. So he's been pitching well. Whether or not he's ready to come up, we'll have to wait and see. So Hader's weird season continues on, as Jason Stark put it. From July 13th through the 15th, he had a couple of appearances, faced 10 batters, 9 runs, 4 home runs. The rest of the season, 35 appearances, 131 batters, 7 runs, and 3 home runs. So for those that say he was on the downside, I think you're wrong. And he's pretty much righted himself since coming back after the All-Star break as well. I think he just went through a little bit of a skid, and that was about the extent of it. So let's do this. We're going to step away and take a quick break. We got a lot going on. And again, Adam McCalvey saying that Josh Hader in the trade going to the San Diego Padres, when David Stern says he always believes the best strategy is getting as many bites at the apple as possible. Sometimes that's a tough decision. Josh Hader, now a San Diego Padre. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. More of the Bill Michaels Show to come.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
I give that a 2.99.
Okay. Hey, Dad.
What's wrong?
That woman over there. Don't look.
What did she do?
She judged my dive. Gave it a 2.99. Isn't that weird?
Hey, that's Gina Della from Pella. I'm going to find out what this is all about. Excuse me. Why are you judging my daughter's diving? I know who you are.
I'm sorry? Judging?
Yeah, she said you yelled out.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about her. I was finalizing this month's special at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. That's funny.
What's special?
Pay only 2.99% interest for 10 years.
On new Pella windows. Really? 10 years?
Yep.
But it's the middle of summer. You can't get a deal on installing new windows during the warmest season.
You can at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Oh, 2.99.
Dad?
Oh, not you, sweetheart. The deal at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. 2.99% for 10 years.
Visit PellaWI.com.
Approved credit.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, a training camp update. In Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers held practice over the weekend. Today, they begin week 2 of training camp, and already head coach Matt LaFleur has lost track of what day it is.
What day is today? That's camp brain for you right there. So Monday we'll be just in the shoulder pads, and then Tuesday we'll be in the full pads.
So how will putting on the pads make it feel on the practice field? Outside linebacker Preston Smith.
Oh, you get to see who's really physical. Some of these guys gain a lot of confidence being in jerseys. And then, that's when you find out who the real men are when the pads come on.
Are there any adjustments to throwing the ball for quarterbacks on the first day in pads? Jordan Love.
No adjustment. I don't feel like it's too much different when you're throwing with pads on. The motion, everything's the same. It's just, you got a little bit extra weight on your back, so I don't think there'll be any adjustment.
Now, the coaches have had high praise for how Rashawn Gary has looked. I asked the outside linebacker what has him so inspired and ready to get after it.
It's just, going into year 4 and, as a team, we got aspirations of going to the NFC Championship, winning it, and, going to the Super Bowl and winning. I just want to be a big part of that. So I'm just hungry to make sure I'm an impact for this team.
That's Packers outside linebacker Rashawn Gary. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
If you're out and about in the Milwaukee area, maybe doing something before or after the Wisconsin State Fair, checking out some music on the weekends or a good breakfast on Sunday, don't forget about our friends at Social House, H-A-U-S, Social House over on Lisbon Road in Menominee Falls. Dan Dell and his staff, great people over there. Stop in, tell him we said hi. His wife, Allison, also awesome. But Social House, H-A-U-S, on Lisbon Road in Menominee Falls. So, Ben, if you look at the reaction as I'm sitting here, if you look at the reaction via the San Diego Padres fans, they feel like the Brewers got the best of them. Have you been looking at that at all if you follow Twitter?
No.
Yeah.
I would think it'd be the opposite.
Padres fans feel like, yeah, they're excited to get Hader, but there's no guarantee that he's going to stay there, that they're going to pay him. And they feel like the Brewers got the better end of the deal.
But isn't that just doing business at the trade deadline? Like I brought this up a couple times, but go back to the 2 World Series teams in 2016. They both traded for big time relievers, and then both of those relievers left.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that what happens when you get big guys at the deadline? Often they're not going to be on your team.
A lot of times it doesn't happen, doesn't stay, doesn't work. But Tony says, I'm fine with trading Hader, but you have to make your team better in doing so. I don't believe that happened today. They actually got a little bit worse, in my opinion. Alex says it doesn't make them better for this season. It only frees up money for the seasons to come. This is from Money Joe, who says, as a Padres fan, I think the Brewers got the best end of the deal. Hader's a good player, no doubt, but I don't even think he's going to stay. And we could be having a rental player for the next year and a half, and then he's out the door. And it kind of goes on from there. But yeah, it's just interesting, the reaction. Ivan says, as a Brewers fan, hated to see him leave, but if it makes the Brewers better, I'm all for it. Small market team always has to think about money first and the player second. Ivan, boy, when you base your product off of your business side, rather than base your business off of your product, you're in trouble. It just, you can't do it. You've got to base your business, meaning how much money you're going to make, off of what your product is. In other words, if you win, people will come and spend money. So, Ivan, I understand what you're saying, being the Brewers being a small market team, but I disagree with that sentiment. Brian says, what about Washington? Could they be wanting pitching, and could there be another deal in the works? I'm sure there could. Sure there could. No doubt. Josh Hader, if you're just tuning in, traded away to the San Diego Padres. And the Padres, the Brewers get back two prospects, basically, a former closer and a guy with a negative WAR this season. And the reaction to all this was basically to trim costs, go after a little bit of a bat, and see if you can get somewhat better. So we'll wait and see what actually happens. And do the Brewers then turn around and deal one of the prospects off to another team to then say, okay, therefore they can make another deal for another bat, another outfielder or first baseman or what have you. Dario says, best possible deal. The Brewers weren't going to be able to afford him anyway. Hated to see Josh go, but I think this was time. Get used to it. We are a small market team. This is the way things have to happen. Our buddy Todd Rosiak, writing for the Journal-Sentinel, says craziness here, obviously. But here's a few thoughts on the reported trade of Josh Hader to the Padres. My guess is the combination of an estimated salary of $15 million plus for Hader next season, combined with his recent shakiness, probably helped convince them to make this deal. That's from Todd Rosiak of the Journal-Sentinel, reacting to the news that Josh Hader has been traded away. So,
Bill, isn't there something to be said? Like, nothing screams invigorate your clubhouse and give them energy, much like, trading away one of your star players, right?
Right.
Isn't there something to be said about, like, you just got energy after the All-Star break and you might make another move, but how about in the clubhouse? They're like, oh yeah, that's our guy in the 9th inning. He's dependable. And now he's gone.
Yeah. The one thing, and this was brought up to me, Ike says, Lamet finished 4th in the Cy Young voting in 2020 as a 27-year-old, 2.09 ERA with 93 strikeouts in 69 innings, which was 12.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, 12 games started, an 8.55 whip, a .855 whip, by the way, and an eye-popping 4.6 strikeouts to walk ratio. Now, if the Brewers can tap into that talent and bring that back around, they're going to have a tremendous it'll be a tremendous deal for the Milwaukee Brewers. So anyway, a lot of reaction coming in. Peter Bukowski of the Locked On Packers podcast coming up. We're going to talk some Packers football, but the big news right now for Brewers fans is Josh Hader's been traded away. He is now off to San Diego. Brewers get 4 players, couple of prospects, couple of arms. Now, whether or not they turn that into another deal, we'll have to wait and see. Hader was the last piece from the Mike Fiers, Carlos Gomez trade in 2015, which was one of Doug Melvin's final moves as the Brewers general manager, remember. And now Josh Hader on his way to San Diego. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Fellow outside linebacker Preston Smith really excited about where Gary is.
Just to see Rashawn's growth from a rookie to now, it's just very impressive, man. We just seen what he did last year, man. I did call it early in the offseason. He just keep on stacking those years, and he keep coming in, working hard, man. He's growing into a leader of his own. He's getting a tremendous confidence. He's going there playing at a high level, and he's being real consistent with it.
Gary has big aspirations for himself and the team.
Going into year 4, and, as a team, we got aspirations of going to the NFC Championship, winning it, and going to the Super Bowl and winning. I just want to be a big part of that. So I'm just hungry to make sure I'm an impact for this team.
Packers practice all 5 days this week, culminating with family night inside Lambeau Field on Friday. They open the preseason the following week at San Francisco. Turning to the Badgers, they will get camp started on Wednesday. It's exactly a month out from the start of the season against Illinois State.
Rural Mutual Insurance. keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual is the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin for a good reason. As a company founded by farmers, they understand the ag industry and its challenges. Local agents offer farm families the best advice and personalized coverage. Visit ruralmutual.com to find an agent near you.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers have traded closer Josh Hader to San Diego for 4 players. That was the word from ESPN today. They get 31-year-old reliever Taylor Rogers, pitcher Dinelson Lamet, along with pitching prospect Robert Gosser and outfield prospect Esterio Ruiz. Rogers and Devin Williams figure to be in line to be Milwaukee's closer moving forward. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome, hour number 4 of the Bill Michaels Show, and we are live. We're out here in Eau Claire, beautiful Eau Claire, hanging out, enjoying the weather. It's warmed up significantly from the 69 that it was a little bit earlier today when the clouds covered the area, and now it's broken, basically blue skies, some white puffy clouds floating around, and a nice day. But if you're a Brewers fan, maybe you're a little sad just for the fact that Josh Hader has indeed been traded to the San Diego Padres for 4 additional players. So we'll talk more about that coming up here in just a bit. So hang in there. But I do want to talk some more Packers football. Joining us now on the hotline, Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers podcast, at Peter_Bukowski, joining us. Pete, how you been, buddy?
I'm good. It's been a busy day. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, the Packers practice today, but there's been a lot going on.
Yeah, it's we are in the throes of news, I guess, for lack of a better term. You got Deshaun Watson today, the ruling being handed down, and the ruling basically chastising both the NFL and Watson when you saw the explanation. And then on the other hand, you got the Brewers making news with the trade Josh Hader. In the meantime, the Green Bay Packers threw the shoulder pads on today. So early on in camp, first of all, what have you seen? What are your thoughts? Give me that first of all.
Well, I think the thing that we always have to remember is the defense is going to be ahead of the offense. And so when you hear offensive players standing out, it should make you stand up and take notice a little bit, especially when it's a rookie. So someone like Romeo Doubs, who has been, the talk of training camp, him standing out early, I think really speaks to his talent and his ability. And I think Packer fans should rightly be really excited about what he can be, the fit that he brings. But that being said, over the last couple of days, it's been defense. And the defense looks fast. I mean, when was the last time, Bill, this defense looked fast?
Right.
And that's exactly what it is. I mean, you saw it in flashes last year, especially when Devondre Campbell was really humming. When you had Jair Alexander out there, we saw it in full force in that 49ers game against a team that can make you look slow. The 49ers, we think of them as this power run team. But think of 2 years ago in the NFC Championship game when the 49ers made them look slow. And it's because of what they can do downhill and sideline to sideline. Well, the Packers have really made some changes there. That's what Quay Walker is about. That's what Devontae Wyatt is about. That's what bringing in someone like Devondre Campbell is. Eric Stokes runs 4.2. I mean, they have added so much speed to this defense that for all the questions about the receiver position, the early returns on this defense, and we're going to see it, I think, more as the pads come on. You mentioned the shoulder pads today, full pads tomorrow. It's not a coincidence that all of a sudden you're seeing Jaron Reed's name pop up. You're seeing Devontae Wyatt's name pop up because these trench players, they're going to start to show up once the pads come on.
You go back to the speed side of things. I know you talked about Devondre Campbell, but from what I understand and what I've seen, Preston Smith looks quick and Rashawn Gary really looks quick. I mean, you talk about even getting faster or quicker off the line from what we saw last year. It looks like both of those guys have gained a step, doesn't it?
I think Rashawn Gary, the thing about Rashawn Gary is the physical tools were always there. They needed to be focused in the right direction and they needed to be used properly. And one of the really cool things Joe Barry did last year was he said, all right, enough of trying to make Rashawn Gary TJ Watt or someone who's going to really bend the edge and get skinny and slither around the corner. Let's widen his alignment. and let's let him just run through offensive tackles' chest. And it turns out when you give someone who's 6'5", 270, that has the kind of get off that he does, that has the kind of upper body strength that he does, all of a sudden he becomes a real problem. And then when you add in the work ethic that he has to get better, I was talking to Eddie McGilvra, who works with Kenny Clark regularly, but also has had Rashawn Gary out there for a tune-up, and Devontae Wyatt and some of these other guys out there. The hand usage is the latest thing in the arsenal. And now it's not that he didn't know what he was doing out there before. Now it's a lot more just natural to say, okay, I've got these handful of pass rush moves. I'm just going to throw them. I'm just going to throw my hands here. I just know instinctively what to do with my hands. If an offensive lineman quick sets me here, okay, now I have this counter in his arsenal. And I think what it's doing is his preparedness and his experience has now allowed him to just play. And when you can do that with someone with his physical tools, he looks faster. He looks more explosive. He looks more dynamic. Even though the tools have always been there, he's finding a way to focus them now. And I've been saying this all offseason. This is the year of the Rashawn Gary ascension into legitimate star range. I thought he was a Pro Bowl caliber player last year. Did not make the Pro Bowl. I think there won't be any question this year, if he stays healthy, that he will absolutely be a Pro Bowl player. His gifts are incredible.
And Mike Clemens was on earlier, and the only concern is the depth at linebacker, the depth specifically at the outside linebacker position on this team. We all know they're solid up front. They've obviously had a Devontae Wyatt, who you mentioned, Jaron Reed. You're hoping that TJ Slayton takes that next step. But when it comes to the outside rush, man, you're thin. You got Preston Smith, obviously, Rashawn Gary, Enigbare, but you really don't have much after that. You know what I mean? Typically, you're starting to reach, man, if those guys go down.
Yeah, I think Enigbare is someone who can come in right away and be a part of your rotation. I was an early Jonathan Garvin player. I thought he had some nice potential, and we just never really saw it come together. Now he's still a young player, and maybe he's able to make some improvements. But I didn't see the physical kind of makeup that I wanted to see early in his career. I think Enigbare can be a nice rotational player, but I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a little bit like Odell Beckham Jr. There is going to be one of these pass rushers, these veterans, like last year, Whitney Merciless, gets bought out, and he gets to decide where he wants to go. And the Rams are probably going to be in the market for a pass rusher because they're one short. They actually don't even have two quality edge guys to play. Luckily, the Packers do. And so I think that they're going to be, even in my 53-man projection for the leap, I put in a veteran TBD on outside linebacker because I just assume at some point, maybe even before the season starts, someone will be brought in as a veteran to play there. The Packers are just waiting to bolster that spot. Last year, they did it out of necessity, right? Zadarius Smith gets hurt, and you just didn't have anybody else. Rashawn Gary was dealing with some injuries early, so you had to go get Whitney Merciless. I think they would be wise to be proactive in that situation. The question is, who is it going to be, and can they actually move the needle for you? Now, if you don't have major injuries, if Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary play 17 games, you're fine. You're fine with them playing 80% of snaps. But if one of them gets hurt, yeah, you're right. Now all of a sudden you have real issues with your pass rush, and you hope that the coverage would give you the chance to mitigate some of those issues, just because if the quarterback has to hold it that extra half second, now you're giving your front that extra half second to get into the quarterback's lap.
The wide receiving core, which we've talked a lot about, I said at the beginning of the season, now I didn't anticipate Christian Watson having knee surgery by any stretch. But I said, look, the guy that I thought would be the impact player this year, that I thought had more right now ability, was Doubs. And he's turning out to be that guy, not because Christian Watson just is down with a knee injury, but I think Doubs had a little more polish to him. And do you see him? I mean, I know we're talking about Sammy Watkins and maybe picking up for what, Devontae Adams left behind, we'll say, when it comes to catches, but I see Doubs becoming, him and Alan Lazard becoming maybe the two go-to guys for Aaron Rodgers, even over Sammy Watkins. Do you?
So I think there is what the intended plan is, and then what will end up happening. I think the plan is for Sammy Watkins to be that guy. But you and I agree on the situation with Dobbs. I said on my show really immediately, I thought Christian Watson had more potential. He's got more talent. He's got more ability. And I think in a year or two, he can be a really good player. I think he has the potential to be a true number one in this Packers offense. But I think that Romeo Dobbs has more ability and more polish to be ready right away. And I think that is so far borne out. Now, on the other hand, the Packers love Christian Watson. They love him. Matt LaFleur raved about how quickly he picked up what they were doing in the spring in OTAs, how quickly he got on the same page with Aaron Rodgers. That being said, I don't know about you, Bill, but when Aaron Rodgers said, I like production over potential, I felt like that was aimed directly at Christian Watson because he was a pick that felt very much like potential over production because he produced very little in college. Part of that is the offense that he was running. So maybe he's a little bit more behind the eight ball there. And now being hurt, now coming off, he had a cleanup surgery coming out of or had an injury coming out of OTAs, trying to work his way back. You need these reps with Aaron Rodgers. You need Aaron Rodgers to trust you. And we're already seeing Rodgers do the thing that he loves to do, and that is, let me take some risks here in training camp and see who I can trust and who I can't. Had one to Juwan Winfrey on one, I think the second or third day of practice, where it was just like, I'm just going to chuck this down there and see if Juwan Winfrey can make a play. And guess what? He did. If you're not getting those opportunities with Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a longer road for him to earn that kind of trust. That being said, the physical gifts for Christian Watson are just, we haven't seen someone like this with the Packers, coincidentally, since Javon Walker. I don't think we've seen someone that has his ability, his size, his speed, his run after catch ability. Not to say he's going to be the best receiver of the last 20 years for the Packers, but I just think physically we haven't seen someone with his gifts in a long, long time. And with Aaron Rodgers, that's not going to be enough. You have to be in the right places at the right time. Go ask Jeff Janis if tools are enough. They're not.
So let me ask you this real quick, because I want to go to the Christian Watson. One more thing, because you brought something up, and I'm focusing on it. When he said, "I'll take production over the future, over the potential," and we talked about Christian Watson being down now. But then I find myself literally getting mad because I'm thinking to myself, you would know what this guy had if you were there at these OTAs working with this guy and building that relationship, rather than saying, learn from Randall Cobb, I'll see you when I see you. And now he's down with an injury, because then you had just said it. Then he's got to come back and he's got to earn the trust. Had Aaron Rodgers been there, he actually would have known a little bit more about the kid at this point, rather than saying he's just a guy with potential, so therefore I'm not going to trust him yet. You know what I mean? That in its essence pisses me off.
I have to tell you, I was smiling listening to you say that, because you are so absolutely right. And I thought it was interesting. I had Kirsten Moran on. She covered the Wolfpack for Nevada Sportsnet, and when Rodgers was in Tahoe for the ACC championship, she asked him, "So what do you think of Romeo Dobbs?" And he said, "Well, I've only met him the one time, and that was because he was at mandatory minicamps." And this is exactly to your point. There were weeks, I think 3 weeks of OTAs, where Rodgers could have been helping get these guys ready. And don't go to the Randall Cobb school, which is, a fine school. It's a middle tier school. I went to Syracuse. Let's put it there. It's a Syracuse school. But Aaron Rodgers' school, that's an Ivy League school. You need that education. You need Aaron Rodgers 101. And to not have that, I think you're I don't want to say hurting the team, but you're certainly preventing your guys to be maximally ready. And Matt LaFleur talked about it today when he was asked about what the concern was for Christian Watson. And he mentioned, look, there are things at the line of scrimmage that our quarterbacks are going to do that you can't simulate in a meeting. And you can't just on the sidelines be watching. You have to be out there. You have to see it through these eyes. And to not have that is essential. And for Aaron Rodgers, he's going to say, well, it's more important for me to not have those miles put on my arm. Matt LaFleur said it looked like he'd been throwing all offseason. I don't think he was. because he needed the rest. And that's Aaron Rodgers taking care of his body. And I think we have to trust him on that part of it. But at the same time, there is, of course, value in having had him there. Had he been there, he wasn't. And so now you have set back the development of Christian Watson in a way that did not have to happen had Aaron Rodgers actually been at these OTAs.
Real quick before I let you go, we're talking with Peter Bukowski from the Locked On Packers podcast, at Peter_Bukowski. Offensive line, somewhat of work in progress. They're moving around Zach Tom, Sean Ryan. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with or without David Bakhtiari, obviously without Elton Jenkins. The offensive line, we don't talk about it because we just assume with Butkus and company, it's going to be good, and Stenovich and everybody that's worked on that offensive line over the last couple of years. It's just whoever they put there turned out really, really well. But don't you have in the back of your mind like this genuine concern, like, holy mackerel, if you don't have Bakhtiari and you don't have Elton Jenkins, the possibility of starting a rookie at a tackle position becomes very real. And you just hope to God that these guys are good enough to be able to do so. Otherwise, that could derail your season in a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings, a division rival that know what you want to do, that know who you want to be. We'll see if Daniil Hunter, what the situation is there. Luckily, that's not a team that is replete with pass rushers. But Zadarius Smith, Zadarius Smith would love nothing more than to get after Aaron Rodgers in a week 1 game against a rookie tackle. So we saw David Bakhtiari out there in the rehab group doing actual work on the field for the first time in a long time. And I think that's a good sign. He seems to be in a good place about it. I've talked to some people. The level of concern in the building about David Bakhtiari, they're coincidentally being a little bit cagier about it publicly than privately, is what I'll say. I think they feel pretty good about where he is. He feels pretty good about where he is. He said he feels much better now than he did a year ago at this time, which is very important because apparently he was not in a good place this time last year. So yeah, then it's how good is Zach Tom? How good is Sean Ryan? Can Royce Newman play tackle? So you're either starting Josh Nijman at left tackle and Royce Newman at right tackle, in which case Royce is not a rookie, but it's his first time starting at tackle, or you have Josh Nijman at right tackle, presumably where he'll play until Elton Jenkins gets back, and a rookie, Zach Tom, at left tackle. Now, Tom has looked good early, and so that's a really nice place to be. I thought he had really good tape. I thought he was a day 2 kind of player, so I think you're getting added value there. Maybe he's the next in a long line of 4th round hits for the Packers at offensive line, going back to TJ Lang and David Bakhtiari and Josh Sitton. And I still really like Sean Ryan, who I think can compete to win this year, that right guard spot. But all that being said, you're absolutely right in the concern level of having to start rookies. Now, I am at the moment not concerned about that because I think David Bakhtiari is going to be out there. But that being said, I'm like Matt LaFleur. I said this last year. I said David Bakhtiari is going to play week 1, and let me tell you, Twitter has not let me forget that I said that. It turns out things you say on the internet stay there for a while. So, that's not always to my benefit.
Yeah,
when
no
I'm making
doubt.
those kinds of predictions.
Peter, good stuff as always, man. I appreciate it, and we will talk again soon as the preseason gets underway. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it, buddy. Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers podcast. You can find him at Peter_Bukowski, Bukowski. Find his stuff there. Good to get him on. For those that are just tuning us in, the breaking news of the day, the Milwaukee Brewers have indeed traded away Josh Hader to the San Diego Padres. We'll talk more about that when we come back. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at the Water Doctors. John Atley and the gang, H2, the letter O, doctors.com. H2, the letter O, doctors.com. Terrific company, and they do a lot for veterans as well, which is another big reason that I can't sing their praises enough. Not only do I love the water softening system, it's the best I've ever had. I had 2, not 1, but 2 of the other majors that claim they're great, that claim their service is awesome. Both were dismal failures. I put the Kinetico system in my house. I have not worried about it since. It's been over almost 15 years now that I've had this system, and it's absolutely fantastic. I love it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm a water drinker, and I love water. I love the cleanliness of the whole thing, and the process, and the fact that it doesn't use my electricity, and I just love it. I love the Water Doctors. H2, the letter O, doctors.com. Get a hold of John. John Atley's the owner. H2, the letter O, doctors.com. More of the Bill Michaels Show, more of your reaction to Josh Hader being traded away to the San Diego Padres. That is coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show. Hang in there. Stay tuned.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. If you're just tuning us in, Josh Hader traded. Brewers closer's been traded to the San Diego Padres. And now, you know, the Brewers get Taylor Rogers, the left-handed closer for the San Diego Padres. They get Esteury Ruiz, the outfield prospect. Dinelson Lamet, who is a right-hander. And Robert Gasser, who is a left-handed prospect. So they get a closer, they get some prospects, they get some, you know, people that maybe can come up and help them in the here and the now. Maybe you can deal a couple of those guys as far as a package goes if you want to continue to make additional moves. Reaction continues to pour in as the Brewers made that move, and now we just kind of sit back and wait for this whole thing to matriculate. In the meantime, you've got the Deshaun Watson ruling of 6 games, which has somewhat changed the perspective of many. You know, as far as whether or not the the NFL is doing anything and everything it can to, quote, save face, and whether or not Roger Goodell is going to do something different. That's another headline today. The Packers putting the pads on, practicing today. Got a lot going on. This is from number one Pack Attack, Packer dude, who says, I believe Hader was overrated when it comes to big games. He's awesome in the regular season with mowing down regular season teams. But when it comes to the best teams in the league, he is human, not untouchable. I think we come out on top with this trade. Here's the thing, though. When you talk about the best teams, he was mowing everybody down. There was only a short stint this season in which his number ballooned. And I read that earlier today. In a couple of 3 appearances, he gave up, I think it was 9 or 10 runs, which caused his numbers to balloon. The rest of the time was 30-something appearances and gave up like a total of like 6 runs, 4 runs. I mean, he was unhittable for a long period of time. And now and even in his last few outings, he's been extremely solid. So I don't necessarily agree with that. You know, if you're going to say, well, he was starting to fail, it's time to get rid of him. Okay, maybe you can go with that, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I think that he was just a money casualty, for lack of a better term. They just didn't want to pay him. They got Woodruff. They've got Corbin Burns. They got other guys coming up. They got to pick their poison as to who they're going to pay, and it's you know what it is? It's peeling off the white glove, taking it and slapping you in the face as a Brewers fan, saying, "Wake up! This is what it's like to be a small market fan." It's what it is. Now, I guess if you want to look at it as the "In Stearns We Trust" motto, you can go back and say, you hope that what David Stearns made a deal for pans out, because he's been pretty good, and I think you do have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But what this trade means for the Brewers, well, first of all, it means that Milwaukee's going to have a regular closer who's not Josh Hader for the first time since he took over in the 9th inning back in 2018. So that's the first thing. Between his somewhat recent struggles and then Devin Williams, who's been really solid, it's made it somewhat easier to accept, though it's reasonable to think that Milwaukee's bullpen as a whole might take a step backward as a result because of what you may or may not have as depth now. Hader's departure also is going to free up some money so they can put it elsewhere. But I'll say this, for those that say, well, now go out and get this guy or that, you're not going out and getting a guy. What you're doing is freeing up money to retain your own guys. That's it. He was owed $11 million this season, making him the second highest paid player on the Brewers roster behind Christian Yelich. So, Rodgers has a full season salary of over $7 million, meaning the difference the rest of the way is less than just $2 million between them. Who really cares? As far as the Padres go, it's simple. The Padres were able to get, Hader, quite possibly the game's best reliever over the course of his career, for a package of extraneous players. Rodgers has underperformed and was months away from free agency. Lamet had not demonstrated he belonged in the big leagues consistently. Neither Ruiz nor Gasser were one of the Padres' best young prospects. And it's rare to be able to land a potential impact talent like Hader, even in the form of a reliever, without giving up a player that the team's definitely going to miss. And the Padres accomplished that here, though. Even if there is a chance that Hader is on the downswing, it's a worthwhile bet. You take it. One that could upgrade the Padres bullpen without jeopardizing their pursuit of Juan Soto or another trade at the trade deadline edition. So reaction continues to pour in. I mean, you wait and see. I would guess that the Brewers are not done. That maybe what they do is take this deal and what they just got, package it with some of their own stuff, and maybe continue to move. There are rumors out right now that the Brewers are not, or at least the calls to the Brewers are not done. Teams are checking in on the Brewers catcher Omar Narvaez. Narvaez is 30, making $5 million this year before becoming a free agent at the end of the season. that it could possibly be a Narvaez trade in the works. So we'll wait and see what happens there, but that's also a possibility.
There's also some talk out there that Colton Wong is being shopped. Bob Nightingale tweeted that the Brewers made Narvaez and Wong also available at the same time as Hader a couple weeks ago.
A lot of reaction. This is from Dan, who writes, better be more trades coming. Otherwise, we just got worse as a division leader. I'm sure that the Cubs and Cardinals are rejoicing. This is from Marvin, who says, why trade Hader, one of the best relievers in baseball? It only weakens the back end of your bullpen for some prospects that could have, would have, should have. The Padres just got better. The Brewers can pack their cash. Well, I can't say that, but he said the Brewers can pack their cash somewhere and sit on that because they didn't get any better. They're not doing anything to right now better this team unless there's more moves to be made. Terry says, makes me sick to think that you finally grow up a guy that turns out to be so good as a Milwaukee Brewer only to trade him away because of money. Same old for the small market team. Over on the Bud Light live stream, Fred says, I don't think they're done trading. John says, I can't help but feel that we got fleeced. Randy says, Brewers got 2 players, 30 plus. Not sure that's going to make them better or better for the future. Why not get a few more younger guys instead? Then again, if you're trying to win in the here and the now, let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask this, and then we're going to go to break. And this is the question I want you to answer. Do you think the Brewers are trying to win with this deal, or do you think the Brewers were just simply shedding money? If you had to choose one, what is it? Do you think the Brewers are pushing the chips in the middle of the table, and they're not done, and they're trying to win with this deal? Because they're a division leader, 3 games up on the Cardinals. Do you think the Brewers are trying to win, or do you think they just wanted to get rid of money? Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Smell those steaks on the grill? Summertime is grilling time. Get your steaks shipped directly to you. Go to ScholzieFamilyBeef.com. That's ScholzieFamilyBeef.com. Catch all the racing action at Road America. Camping and corporate events available as well. Go to RoadAmerica.com for all the information. Road America, America's National Park of Speed.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Glad to have you. The Bill Michaels Show continues on. Hey, don't forget about our friends at Burn Pit Barbecue. We are heading out on Friday. We're heading to Sturgis, and some of the things that I'm taking with me for a little grilling out, we're going to do some Robert's specialty meats, whether it's the Al Capone sausages or some burgers and such that are pre-prepared, but I'm also taking some of the Burn Pit barbecue sauce with me. So we're going to do a little get-together for some people out there come Saturday night. And you better believe that between Robert's Specialty Meats down in Waukesha and our friends at BurnPitBBQ.com, that we are going to be well represented coming up on Saturday. So really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. So if you're thinking about doing a little barbecuing, you can't go wrong with either. Whether it's Robert's Specialty Meats down in Waukesha, go to robertspecialtymeatswaukesha.com or our friends at BurnPitBBQ.com. That's BurnPitBBQ.com. Both places absolutely awesome. So Josh Hader dealt. The Brewers pick up yet another pitcher and some other prospects, we'll say, some guys that have shown some flash. The one thing that as we sit here and watch this kind of unfold, I can't help but think, like many of you, that there's going to be something else coming. You know, there's something else. Our buddy Steve writes, the Hader trade did come as somewhat of a surprise, but I have to say at the same hunch as you do, I think that David Stearns has something up his sleeve that isn't done yet. That being said, I do think they are pushing the chips to the middle of the table. to get over the hump. Although Hader has been nothing short of amazing the last month or so, he has struggled, and I think the Brewers have seen enough from Devin Williams to trust him. I still look for David Stearns to work something out the next day. Do you think the Brewers are going for it and getting better? Or do you think that this was strictly a deal to shed money? Brian says, I feel like the Brewers are trying to shed money, but I also feel like they got something else going that's going to work something pretty big, and these pieces are going to be part of that. Why else would you make this deal? Brentley says the Brewers did an exceptional job of maximizing the return for Josh Hader without meaningfully diminishing their chance to make the 2022 playoffs. Strong work by David Stearns and his staff. Brentley, when you say diminish the playoffs opportunities, I hope you're right. And I don't know. We're going to wait and see. It's hard. I think from what I'm reading from both sides, Padres fans feel like the Brewers got the best of them. While the public sentiment, I was just reading an article in sports or at CBS Sports that said, the Brewers got some guys that haven't been able to show steadiness in the bigs, that haven't returned to form for Josh Hader strictly to shed money. So I don't know specifically what to think at this point. I can just look at the numbers and say, well, they got some quality. If the quality can put it together and be quality consistently, yeah, they got some good pieces. But I, like you, kind of feel like there's another deal in the works. Brian says maybe shedding some salary to sign a Juan Soto. No, that's not happening. You're not giving up $11 million so you can take on $450 million. That ain't happening. That's not happening.
Bill, I do have some minor breaking news that I
what
was
else
just
do you got?
texting someone about. It doesn't require the sounder. So old friend Dave Carney has chimed in on Twitter asking us how we feel about this move. Now he tagged you, he tagged myself, he tagged a couple others. Did you notice who he did not tag in that tweet?
I saw it come across, but I haven't checked it out.
No Grant Bills.
Oh,
so
boy.
Maybe some trouble out there in lacrosse.
Sometimes I always say that. Sometimes what's not said speaks louder than what is.
I'm learning. I've learned a lot.
Eric says, this is great. San Diego Padre fan. Eric is a San Diego Padre fan. Fan_Wisconsin says, come on, Bill. History shows you they're doing nothing more than shedding money. They are currently operating at their highest team salary in history. Mark wants to buy a share of a soccer franchise. He has made over $1 billion in valuation since buying the team. Yeah, but again, you don't have that money sitting in your pocket. The small market cry is bull, and if you think the Brewers are going to reallocate money to Burns and Woodruff, I have a swamp to sell you. We show loyalty, and Mark shows disrespect. You have been an anti-Mark fan, though, for a long time. So I'm taking that with a grain of salt. You got to hope that they're going to spend money in those particular areas. You just have to. Just have to. Let's see here. How do you think they got Josh to begin with? He was a throne. David Stearns is a genius. Milwaukee will come out on top for this one. That's from David. And Mark says, this team is doing nothing more than shedding salary. You hope that the prospects pan out, but otherwise, at least they can look at their budget at the end of the day and say, yep, we saved $11 million. Really, you're only saving a couple million. You already paid him a majority of the season. And the only thing you're saving is next year, because you're not going to pay him whatever the rise out of arbitration would happen to be. So that's it. You're not saving, like a ton of money this year. What you would be saving is more so the 11 to 17, 18 million bucks that you'd pay him in arbitration come next year. That's it. So nothing more than that. Eric says, no way in hell this is a good deal for the Milwaukee Brewers. They're not going for it. They're getting rid of money. Boomer says, no way Mark Attanasio is not going to go for it. I believe that he wants to win a championship, and I think this is just a piece of the plan. There has to be more to come, right? Daniel says, David Stearns has something up his sleeve. Let's just wait and see this whole thing played out. This one's from Dan, who says, if the Brewers get a win and continue to win, then I'm going to feel better about all of this. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. Breaking news of the day. If you're a Brewers fan, you probably already heard it. But nevertheless, the Milwaukee Brewers have traded away the reliever Josh Hader for some players, 4 players specifically out of the Padres organization. And now you just kind of wait and see. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Another segment yet to go. Broadcasting live out here, Wild Ridge Golf Course in Eau Claire, where the skies have only a couple of puffy clouds left. Man, they're all blue now. It's beautiful out here. And obviously a beautiful golf course, a hidden gem in the state of Wisconsin. If you've never played here, it's just absolutely awesome. As you're looking at it right now with some of the cameras on the Bud Light live stream, a terrific place here out in Eau Claire. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show. Wrap it up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
I give that a 2.99.
Okay. Hey, Dad.
What's wrong?
That woman over there. Don't look.
What did she do?
She judged my dive. Gave it a 2.99. Isn't that weird?
Hey, that's Gina Della from Pella. I'm going to find out what this is all about. Excuse me. Why are you judging my daughter's diving? I know who you are.
I'm sorry? Judging?
Yeah, she said you yelled out.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about her. I was finalizing this month's special at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. That's funny.
What's special?
Pay only 2.99% interest for 10 years.
On new Pella windows. Really? 10 years?
Yep.
But it's the middle of summer. You can't get a deal on installing new windows during the warmest season.
You can at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Oh, 2.99.
Dad?
Oh, not you, sweetheart. The deal at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. 2.99% for 10 years.
Visit PellaWI.com.
Proof credit.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, a training camp update. In Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers have a busy week ahead with practices every day, followed by family night this Friday here at Lambeau Field. Now, over the weekend, the Packers worked on special teams and had rookie wide receiver Romeo Doubs returning punts. He also hauled in touchdown passes from Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Doubs says of the receivers he studied, from Hall of Famer Jerry Rice to somebody like Jordy Nelson, they've all had one thing in common: preparation.
Even the greatest ones, they preparation is so high to where they get at that maximum level, and it becomes a practice for them.
Jordan Love had the play of the day. Under pressure, he rolled to his left, then launched a 55-yard bomb to the right sideline and hit Romeo Doubs in stride during a 2-minute drill.
Yeah, it's one of those plays that you hear them calling the huddle, and you're like, okay, I hope we get this look on defense, the perfect look, and be able to launch that ball back. And that's what happened. We got to the line. I was like, okay, we got a shot for it, and saw Romeo come out, and it just worked out. He finished the play off nicely, but yeah, it was fun.
How has Jordan Love improved at quarterback in year 3? Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
The whole operation, from getting the play call and the command in the huddle, and then being able to go out there and effectively execute with a proper technique. And certainly he's going to get a lot more reps, throughout the course of the preseason. And there's no substitute for live game reps. Aaron does a great job with him in our meeting room in terms of just giving him nuggets all the time. Jordan's been through it now for a couple of years, and I think he hangs on to those things and truly learns from not only his experiences out there, but the other quarterbacks in the room.
That's Matt LaFleur. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Glad to have you. The Bill Michaels Show, final segment. Broadcasting live out here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Wild Ridge Golf Course. That's where we are located. And John Morosi says, and I quote, the Brewers did an exceptional job of maximizing the return for Josh Hader without meaningfully diminishing their chance to make the 2022 playoffs. Strong work by David Stearns and his staff. So John Morosi, which, by the way, John Morosi is with the MLB Network, did not say the Brewers did an excellent job of upping their chances in the postseason. What it said was they didn't do a lot to diminish their chances in the postseason. They maximized their return without meaningfully diminishing their chances. Doesn't tell me that the Brewers went in. This tells me that the Brewers saved money. Now, Taylor Rogers, who they got in the deal, 8.14 ERA since May 28th. Dinelson Lamet, 9.49 ERA this season. Ruiz, he's got a 2.22 batting average this season. Robert Gasser, 4.18 ERA as a 23-year-old at A-plus level, 3 levels below Major League Baseball. Ruiz barely has had any Major League at-bats, and they have been sporadic at best. You check out his minor league stats for the year. And as one person from San Diego put it, what the Brewers got in return were a bunch of lottery tickets. And again, I said before, do you think the Brewers were going in to get better or just going in to shed money? So there you go. And it kind of, now again, if the prospects pan out, then you say, you know what? You got a fair return for Josh Hader, one of the game's top relievers, who you still had control of even next year. But if you got prospects, and as they put it, lottery tickets for Josh Hader, that's not necessarily the way to go. Lamet can be nasty. He can be nasty. If the Brewers pitching staff can get him back to his form, he can be nasty. So we'll see. Again, it's you got to wait for it to pan out, like any trade. But the emotional reaction of this deal, everybody wants to say whether it's good or bad. The emotional reaction of this deal is you lose a fan favorite in Josh Hader. Now we wait and see if David Stearns did indeed get the better of the San Diego Padres. So Mr. Mojo says the Brewers were robbed. Dan says, so it falls on the Brewers. They gave him the money, and after the injury, knowing they could give less at the time, Burns could be the next chip to fall within a couple of years. All that elite pitching is going to go away for absolutely nothing. Welcome to minor league baseball. So we'll see. See what happens. Do you think they got the better end of the deal, Ben? Do you think the Brewers are more competitive?
Nope.
I don't either. Not after what I'm reading.
It could end up fine, but I think with where they're at, I don't agree with this move at all.
Yeah. I'm not happy.
Doesn't it feel like Game 5 of the NLDS is in Milwaukee somehow, and the Padres are in town, and then Josh Hader closes that game? Doesn't it kind of feel like that's what's bound to happen?
Yep. And here's my other thought is I said, and I had that feeling a while ago, and I'm trying to talk myself out of it now, and I'm going to stick with it because I'm going to go with what I thought. I said if you trade Josh Hader now versus the end of the season, it smells like you're just doing it for money. Therefore, you're basically diminishing a portion of your team, and if you're diminishing your team, you're not getting better for the postseason. And that's almost exactly what John Morosi said. That the Brewers did a great job of getting lottery tickets in return without seriously diminishing their postseason hopes. And damn it, I am not about just getting to the postseason. I'm about winning in the postseason. And if your thoughts are just to get there, then you're doing all of this fan base a disservice. That's kind of the way I'm feeling right now. Maybe tomorrow, after it sinks in, I'll look at it a little differently. But right now, I hope it works out. But I'm going to stick with my gut on this. There you go. That's it. Going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks to the staff and management of Wild Ridge here out in Eau Claire. Beautiful golf course, as you've been looking at all day if you're following on the Bud Light live stream. Don't forget, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. Find us on Google Podcasts as well. The Brewers make a deal. Josh Hader now off to the San Diego Padres. And we'll see and give reaction to all of this coming up tomorrow as the Brewers are now in Pittsburgh, and they're going to be without Josh. So there you have it. Time for us to go. Have a go.